Here we go. All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another impromptu hangout. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties earlier. I'm going to blame Google for that one. But here we are. I'm here with Millennial Prepster so far. Or is it Prepper? Sorry.
A Prepster.
Prepster. Gotcha. Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the whole prepping movement, but maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. But anyway, what are we talking about today? You contacted me. You wanted to. It sounded like you wanted to recap a little bit the fact that vegans are nuts. Those are not your words. I don't mean to be misrepresenting what you said, but you definitely had it seemed like a knee-jerk, visceral reaction to my latest talk with one of the leaders, the most logical leader of the vegan movement insofar as YouTube's concerned. Ask Youssef. So, what did you think?
Well, let me just start off with everybody. Quick introductions. I know you have a lot of new followers, and we've done a couple of discussions in the past. But yeah, I just want to kind of briefly introduce myself. I'm the Millennial Prepster here, and I kind of practice a different diet than most reviewers. I practice a whole food plant-based diet. My ancestry is from the blue zones, and we can kind of talk about that a little later, but I grow my own food, and all the meat that I do eat meat. I'm not vegan, and I procure that myself. I grow them myself. I harvest them myself. So we're kind of familiar, me and you are familiar in that kind of aspect where we do for ourselves the best that we can. And yeah, so when I look at the videos and stuff, vegans are not consistent on a lot of things. And so a lot of those things I kind of want to bring to the forefront to you guys. And what I would like to talk about, if I can, is just start with the name your trait argument. I feel like I probably don't understand it. So hopefully you can, play devil's advocate and kind of explain what that really means. Talk about some vegan hypocrisy, and then food sovereignty. And there's some news and stuff I want to get out to everybody. So yeah, I do practice a whole food plant-based diet. No, I'm not vegan. And yes, I'm really big into permaculture, and I raise my own food, both plants and animals. That's kind of who I am. So take it away, Carneval.
Yeah, I guess I should have mentioned that we don't necessarily agree when it comes to what we think is the best for us. But that's the beauty of it, right? There's no one diet for everybody. So I'm glad you pointed that out, that you're not some crazy extreme carnivore or anything like that. You have your own view on diet, at least.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful that we can, like I said, we don't agree on a lot of things, but we can sit here and we've had many conversations, and I'm not going to try to box you into a corner, and you're not going to yell at me and tell me that I'm crazy. You know what I mean? So it's beautiful. Well, and we share a lot of things similar.
That's the thing that we do agree on, is that everybody should find their own path and figure out what works for them. I think that's why we enjoy talking to one another, because even though we completely disagree, I don't care what you eat, and it doesn't seem like you care what I eat. So what's the big deal, right?
Exactly. And I'll never infringe on your ability to take care of you and your family. It's funny because I see that you and Daphne Reloaded are really good friends. I actually did a response, very respectful. I respect all you guys, on one of her videos on goji berries, because I grow them on my homestead. And so I thought that was funny, but I love all the stuff that she's doing, and I hope one day I could have a conversation with her on some of that stuff. But yeah, like I said, we may not agree, but I want your viewers to know that, at the end of the day, I think whatever they're doing, it's like what you've mentioned in the past. I want you guys to be happy. I want you guys to be healthy. And the more you can do for yourself, the better off you'll be as a person. You know what I mean? So I think that's great.
Yeah, totally. Hey, I see we have Sea Siren Janine on the line. How are you doing?
Hi, Janine.
Hi, I'm here. I just wanted to check in.
Totally. Well, as insofar as the whole name the trait argument, and you guys, if there's a lot of background noise, if you're not speaking, if you could mute your mics just for the time you're not speaking, but don't forget to unmute it when you do want to jump in.
Do you think there's background noise with me? I have headphones
Yeah.
in now.
I could hear like fridge being open or something being,
Oh my
maybe a
God.
screen door.
I'm at Starbucks.
Oh no.
So just when you're not talking, just mute your mic. You'll see
Okay.
a mic button on the top of your screen.
I'm
And
thinking I'm gonna head home real quick. I only live 5 minutes away.
whatever's clever. Yeah.
Alrighty. I'll be right back.
Okay. Whoa. Anyway, Janine, can you hear me? There she goes. Anyway, kind of got a little distracted there. So we were talking about, before we went live, we were talking about name the trait just a little bit. And to answer your point, nobody understands name the trait, especially the people that push the argument and they think that it's legit. Most of all, they don't seem to understand it, or they're just being dishonest about it. But what is your comprehension of what at the very least they're trying to say with this argument? How do you interpret it? Because I think at this point in time, anyone's interpretation is legit.
So yeah, so from how I understand it, they always say this is how, especially how he started off with you, which is just, it's ridiculous. And I hope his viewers are listening to this or watch this video. So here's the thing. The first thing he'll come out and say is, why do you support a Holocaust? Why do you support genocide? You know, that's how he starts it. And you know, when you start it like this, like I said, I don't know what his educational background is, but if you're going to use English words, you have to at least do it on a scale that makes sense. So I don't support big agriculture. I don't like slaughterhouses. That's why I don't use any of that infrastructure. But when you're talking about a genocide, or you're talking about Holocaust, you're talking about a mass destruction. You're trying to erase something. Animal agriculture, first off, is not trying to erase animals. They're trying to procure more of them. They're not trying, because when you talk about the Jews, when you're talking about when genocide and Holocaust was used in the past, they're trying to wipe out an entire people. And we're going to kind of get into the psychology of that here in a second really quick. But the Nazis were trying to get rid of Jewish people. Animal agriculture is not trying to get rid of every chicken that ever existed. They're not trying to get rid of every cow. They're trying to keep up with demand. And we can talk about why that's good and bad in a moment, but the definitions don't even make sense. So if they were to come at me like that, I would have to ask them to redefine their terms. You know, they talk about enslavement. If you look at the definition of enslavement, you know, it doesn't refer to animals. So use a different word. The English language is meant to be used in that situation. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where I don't appreciate that coming right outside the gate when they try to use it. So you were kind of at a disadvantage just to begin with, because he's using terms that by definition don't go with what he's trying to say.
Well, yeah, and to your point there, you know, what animal agriculture does, obviously it kills these animals eventually, but if sentience is what you're after and it's so important to you, how do you miss the fact, how do you not recognize the fact that animal agriculture, the net gain insofar as sentience is there, right? They, like you were saying, they create more life than they kill because, well, human population is growing, and proportionately so will animal agriculture, because you got to feed these people. So yeah, even though there is suffering, and we could talk about that whole thing, I suppose, but there is a net gain insofar as life gained and sentience gained. Even though, like I'm saying, even though you're killing animals, you're producing more, and you're creating more animal life, animals that wouldn't, you know, be able to exist on their own, at least not the way they've been, you know, bred and designed to exist by us.
Here's something else that's really cool. So take the Pacific Northwest. Well, I'm going to take a random state out of the Pacific Northwest. Oh, Oregon, look at that. Oregon has more trees. Oregon is the #1 exporter of lumber. Oregon has more trees today than it did 100 years ago. But if you listen to what your 3rd grade civics class was talking about, oh, the world is cutting down all these trees and they're cutting down these many millions of acres. Well, we would have ran out of trees by now. No, because the lumber industry in the state of Oregon is very smart, and they realize if we're going to want more trees in the future, we have to replant them better than nature did. That's just another example of kind of what you're talking about. But when we're talking about name the trait, so that's kind of how I see it. So let's say it is sentience. If somebody were to ask me, well, what's the trait in which it's okay to kill other animals, but it's not okay to kill humans? I would say, personally, there is no trait. because you don't use force because of a trait. You use force because there's three things, and anybody that's been in the military, law enforcement will tell you, intent means an opportunity. That is the established guideline whenever it goes to trial or case law. When you are looked at by your peers, that's what you're looked at. Intent means an opportunity. So my question to him would be, what is your justification for supporting big plant agriculture that's subsidized more than oil is? In the UK, over 80 billion. In the US, over 35 billion. 70% of all child labor is in plant agriculture. And I have studies that prove that those are state studies, state-sponsored studies. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides kill hundreds of millions of animals. Hundreds of millions of birds in the U.S. alone are killed. Not to mention, everything that happens to the environment with those poisons going into waterways and stuff like that. So when we're talking about mass death, these animals are being intentionally poisoned, intentionally killed for one purpose, because they exist and they eat. At least when I dispatch an animal, if I dispatch a rabbit, all that meat's being used, the bones are being used. I'm using every part of the animal to the best of my ability. So what's more devastating? Poisoning hundreds of millions of animals so they can rot on planet Earth, so you can have your tofu, corn, quinoa, whatever, or the local homesteader that's dispatching a rabbit to feed his family for 3 days on. So what's his justification for the massive death of animals indiscriminately? That'd be my question.
Well, his answer to that would be, that's not what I want to talk about. And you're not answering the question. But
no, I just did, because I said there is no trait.
Yeah.
There is no trait that justifies killing. There's intent means an opportunity. And that's what I will be judged upon if I ever go to court, case law, all that stuff. And it's at least in the US. And I know other countries are different, but in the US, use of force is justified through intent means an opportunity.
So what is the reason why? I mean, I know the answers to these questions, but I'm playing devil's advocate here. So what gives you the right to kill these and eat these animals is basically what they're asking you with this whole name the trait trick.
The same justifications that they're going to give for supporting big plant agriculture. It's the same thing. Even take harness, for example. Like, I want your viewers, you already know this because we've talked about this kind of in the past, but I want your viewers to really think about it. Vegans, their biggest issue and where they get their most power from is trying to make this standard American diet, the Western American diet, look petty. And it is. I don't think anybody, and if I offend you, well, I'm sorry, it's the truth. If you eat a standard American diet, Western diet, where you're going out to McDonald's 3 times a week and you're eating with all this, processed foods and all that stuff like that. Yeah, veganism is going to be able to, stand up and say, look how horrible you're doing. But if you're a carnist, and I'm not a carnist at all, but let's just follow it here. All the carnists I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, all the carnists I know take great pride, just like I do, in knowing where their meat comes from, buying it local. They want good quality meat because that's what their majority of their diet is, what they're eating. And all the people I know that are practicing the carnivore diet, that's what they do. So tell me, what's worse? Having 3 meals a day and grabbing all these different plant products from all over the world that have the aforementioned damage to the world, to the children, pesticides, all that stuff. Every day they're importing more and more. Or the guy who goes down to a local co-op and gets a cow, and now he has 1,500 pounds of meat that he can feed him and his family for months on. Well, which one's worse? I mean, there's no equivocation there. You know what I mean? Obviously, the carnist is doing way better for the environment than the vegan, who's constantly buying supplements and constantly having to outsource all over the world in order to support a diet. And then on top of that, they have to make sure they put all their inputs into a chronometer, because if not, you're not doing it right? So it's just one of these things where if it was so natural, I hate to break it to you, our ancestors didn't have a chronometer that they could just look into and be like, oh, I ate this today. What do I need to eat now? This whole idea is ridiculous. You know what I mean? And you could take these people that, I guarantee you, all these people that were hardcore vegans that have left the movement. I guarantee you, if you were just to add, a rabbit or a fish or a steak in their diet once a week, I bet you they would still be vegan, or mostly vegan. You know what I mean? That's all it takes, in my opinion. Now, we can have the difference in agreements there, but they're missing key nutrients from their diet that if they would have just humored them and added an animal product in there every once in a while, they would they would still be doing their fine. Their body would still be getting what they needed. So it's just one of those things where you're looking at it in totality, and what big agriculture does is just, it's unjustified. So I would ask them to justify why they support big agriculture. And those are probably the same reasons why I do it locally at my home.
Well, I know what they would say to that, and that would be something along the lines of, well, all these animals that you're eating are still benefiting from plant agriculture, so why don't we all just eat animal feed, basically, and feed the world with
which is also not true.
Grain and, oh, I know, because it's like feed quality grain and crappy soybeans that it's, you know,
here's
obviously humans need a lot more variety than just eating corn or grain or whatever, right?
Absolutely. And here's another thing for you too. I did a video on it. Now, this is another thing that me and you differ on, and I think it's just because the animals that we keep, right? We differ on it. But I don't feed any of my animals corn, wheat, or soy. I don't feed them grains at all. I don't have to, though, for the animals that I have. I understand if you have maybe some animals that, you know, bigger, you know, goats, cows, that kind of thing, you may have to feed grains. I'm not sure. I don't want to claim to be an expert. Maybe goats not so much, but yeah, I don't feed them basically there's not a single plant that has to be killed in order to feed my animals. A lot of people don't realize when you talk about pasture raised, they don't kill the grass, they mow it down. Anything that's compostable, they're not killing it. Trimmings, they're not killing it. I guess duckweed technically, but I don't see any vegans out there going out to defend duckweed, because I produce a lot of duckweed that I feed to my livestock. So I don't feed them crops. I don't feed them food that any humans would be eating. And even if humans were eating it, it's produced locally here. They would never see that effect anyway. And that's just another myth that you have to feed animals with using plant agriculture. It's also just another myth out there.
But the argument is that this is what's happening right now, right? And that's the problem with, let's say, animal agriculture, that, you know, the majority of people who eat meat in the United States, this is definitely not true all over the world, but at least in the United States and maybe the developed world, I don't think Europe, but anyway, the majority of meat consumed in the United States, Canada, so on and so forth, those animals do eat a lot of grain. So and then this whole argument that we could eat what the animals eat is just ludicrous, because we're not ruminants. And insofar as feeding animals grain, look, this is what people need to understand. We've bred cattle, goats to produce more milk than they naturally would have. So the demand on their bodies is unnatural. Let's just keep it real about that. A goat that might naturally produce a liter of milk for her baby for 2 or 3 months nowadays will make up to a gallon for a year and a half, 2 years. Obviously, the quantity will drop over time, but that animal produces so much more milk than it was ever designed to do. So you kind of have to give that animal some kind of concentrate, a concentrated food, at least to some degree, if you want to get a decent amount of milk from that animal and use that animal to its full potential. So this whole idea that we shouldn't feed animals grains, we should be careful when we feed animals concentrated food concentrates, because they could have problems, but it's not as cut and dried as people make it. Now, if that's all you feed the animal and you only give it grain, yeah, you're going to screw the animal up, because unlike us, that animal does need fiber in its gut in order for the fiber digesting bacteria to proliferate, for it to be able to extract nutrition from its food and to be healthy. That animal needs fiber. We don't. But I don't really want to talk about this too much, because we spend a lot of time.
No, I get it, and I just want to clean up what you said. I agree with everything you're saying, and I guess the biggest point is me and you are from how we've talked in the past. Our lifestyle is a little different than probably the average standard American, but they still attack us. The vegans are going to say it's your lifestyle, right? So if they're going to attack my lifestyle, I'm going to throw it right back at them, because their biggest common denominator is talking to that, that overweight guy that, or gal, whatever, the standard American family that does exactly what you were talking about earlier. And that's not who we are. And most carnists that I know, they're pretty active. They're out there getting it. Even the people that I don't necessarily agree with, they're out there getting it. Like I said, I was talking about Daphne Reloaded. I may not agree with some of the videos she puts out there, but I've watched her videos. She gets out there and she gets it. Sea Siren, she gets out there and she gets it. You get out there and you do your thing. So it's the lifestyle that they don't like. And so, we're not the average people. And so, yeah, I don't do things like most people do. Well, neither do they. They're less than 1%. I'm less than 1%. Let's have a conversation. But you're right. They're scared, and all they want to do is peddle and, sell more supplements and tell people, well, you put it in your chronometer wrong, so we can kind of get off of that. But I just want you to know that, I'm kind of fed up with it. So I have no problem taking it to their lifestyle.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
We're just talking about you.
Is there better sound? I didn't hear. I was driving home. I got something to say to that. I don't know. I'm not sure what you guys were talking about. I think you're saying that, to rebut and be angry. Me personally, vegans, like the veganism is my personal enemy, and I am angry. Somebody just commented today, like, how could you even side with Daphne? Look how angry she is. She has some issues, this and that. And I said, because I feel the same exact way. I am pissed. My health is completely destroyed from a vegan and plant-based diet for my whole life. I woke up with 3 diseases one summer, 3 diseases. And I'm like, my whole world just got flipped, and I thought about it, and I am extremely pissed. So anybody that tries to push veganism on me, I consider them my personal enemy.
Yeah, and I just want to I totally agree with you. And I think too many people, I think the vegan movement has hijacked what plant-based diet means. And I know you guys have done videos on it, and a couple other people, Frank did a video on it, which I disagree with him a lot on, but plant-based does not mean vegan. And anybody that tries to tell you that, anybody that tries to tell you that is 100% mistaken. And we might have some disagreements, but I have a bunch of facts and anecdotal evidence as well, being that I grew up in Japan, but and Japanese descent. But by plant-based, that just simply means that the basis for your diet would be plants. So
thank you.
Majority of Okinawans actually, if you look at the actual breakdown and you do it scientifically, you'd see, depending on the season, because they eat within their crop zone, which is something that I truly believe in. They eat within their crop zone. You look at a 70-30 cut. So 70% plant-based, 30% animal protein. By animal meat, I mean organs, broth, all that stuff.
The organs considered like a super.
Yes, and the Okinawans take great pride in their permaculture. So for anyone to say that that's not the case, they need to look more at it. But plant-based does not mean vegan at all. Okinawans are not vegan. Right. They love pork. I mean, if you look at some of the oldest Okinawans out there, they'll even tell you that they love sushi, they love eel. So they eat animal products, but a lot of it is, they believe in fermentation. They believe in, they do eat a lot of seaweed, sweet potatoes. So they do eat plant-based, but they eat a lot of animal products as well. And if you look at 30% of your diet being animal products, it may not be as hardcore as somebody eating raw meat all the time, but it's definitely there. So, but
if you add organ meats, I think you can be fully optimal health. If you're only eating 30% of meat in your diet, if there are organ meats included, I think you'll be totally fine.
Well, absolutely, and that's the biggest thing to take from the Okinawans. Like I said, I can't speak for all blue zones because Costa Rica and Japan are my places of origin. The Caribbean, and Japan. But if you look at it realistically, they take great pride in their permaculture. They eat within their crop zone. They don't eat processed foods. And when you're talking about eating meat, these people aren't just grabbing, eating chicken breasts and flank steak. Like they're using the whole entire animal. Look at miso soup. Look at all these different things that have lots of animal products in it, right?
They're just picking and choosing the vegetable foods and then just ignoring the fact. Like when they're saying the blue zones are vegan, they're just completely ignoring the fact that they eat pork and all that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're just taking the vegetables and highlighting that and throwing that in your face. Hey, have you guys heard of this is the new thing that I think is going around because of the confusion between vegan and plant-based. So this is what I got from a vegan man, which you know how I feel about them on my comment section.
It seems like men always want to tell you what to do with your life, huh?
They're not, well, it's like they're more passive aggressive than the women. The women will just say some nasty thing to me and I never hear from them again. The vegan men will go on and on literally for weeks commenting and stalking me in a way. And it's not just me, you know, Daphne and all. And they start off really, really nice. Oh, how is your health? How are you doing? And I'm not sure if they're vegan or not because they seem so concerned. I can see it now. I have radar now. But then I'm like, so I start to tell them and they're like, oh, you were just this, and this. You didn't eat enough this. And then I'm like, oh, hell no. So we get in a whole debate, which I love doing that because I take that as an opportunity. I mean, they expose themselves as stupid, and I take that as an opportunity to share the info that I have. So hopefully if somebody reads the comments, you know, they can see what I went through. But have you guys heard the new thing now that, okay, veganism and plant-based are different because veganism means you're an ethical vegan. Plant-based means you're a nutritional vegan. This is what they're trying to push now.
They're just being ridiculous. Plant-based.
They're just twisting it. It's always twisted. Everything's
plant-based means exactly that. It's based in plants. Like even if it's meat-based, if you're eating, in my opinion, if you're eating 60% meat and then 40%, your diet is still technically based in meat. Now, obviously, if you're carnivore, it's going to be different. But yeah, plant-based does not mean vegan. It's never meant that. And so I think Okinawans are great. They've been like this for centuries. They've been like this for thousands of years.
Right.
You know, so
how can you argue with that?
It's all advertisement. It's all advertisement. Like I said.
If I could jump in for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
You're loud.
No, I'm just
playing.
Interjecting. I think obviously veganism comes out of capital V veganism, not talking about the diet, comes out of animal rights movements. And it's definitely, obviously, first and foremost, it's all about, you know, saving the animals, so on and so forth. However, there was a point in time where it became very conflated with health, and the way they try to sell veganism is by saying how good and healthy it is for you. Fair enough, it isn't, but whatever. Yeah, but now that there has been an explosion, an influx of testimonials of failed vegans, because some, you know, celebrities or YouTube celebrities have come out and given the courage to a lot of people to come out and say the same, and cracks in this ideology of the healthfulness of veganism for everybody are developing. People, the activists, are trying to go back to the roots of what veganism really is, and they're no longer pushing this. Oh, it's healthy first and foremost, because
hey, I gotta back
cognitive,
up.
It's cognitive dissonance, in my opinion.
I see what you mean. They're trying to diminish the importance of promoting. Yeah. Well, they're I've noticed that some vegans don't even care about health. Like they literally don't give a crap. Like that vegan couple that I love talking shit about, they literally don't care about their health.
It's not about what it's all about. They didn't do it right. Okay, guys. It's just, bro.
Yeah, I'll admit, I straight up say I did veganism wrong, period.
Bro, it's the least we can do to be vegan, right? It's the chronometer.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm unnatural vegan right now. It's the chronometer, bro. Like, trust me, I was pregnant at one point. I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Sorry, that was a jab.
By the way, she is anemic. She has hair loss. She's pale. She wears dark lipstick in every video. I can see the signs in anemic women because I am an anemic woman, and I don't leave the house without some sort of color on my lips, because people will literally come up to me and ask me if I'm okay because my lips are blue. She has hair loss on the top of her head. And it's only a matter of time before it's quite obvious, but I can see the signs now.
Well, and that's the thing. It's, you know, these people, and that's the thing about YouTube too. You can obviously present yourself in any way that you want, you know, and people are just gonna take that as the status quo. But I mean, honestly, this has been a great conversation. So we kind of did name the trait. We kind of did a little bit of the hypocrisy. Carneval, you said you wanted, it might have been me a couple minutes ago, kind of cut you off. Were you going somewhere else with?
No, I'm just kind of following the flow. I'm trying to entertain the viewers and put stuff up on the screen also. So I'm like in and out, but yeah, I don't really, if you're asking me, I don't really care where the conversation goes.
Okay. I didn't
I like this thing that where you're putting up the articles and stuff on the screen. I like this. This is visually entertaining while you're listening. I like that.
No, he goes hard. He definitely does awesome job. I kind of, if I could, I would like to, we can get this knocked out right quick, kind of segue into some big news. I just want to kind of throw this out there. For all of all of Carnival's American viewers there. I thought you guys might find this interesting. Like I said, I'm pretty big into permaculture. It's something that, you know, I really love food. I mean, if you look at my channel, you can see how big and fat I am. You know, I love food. But yeah, no, I think food's great. And there's a strange thing that's happening. And me and Carnival have talked about food sovereignty. And this is something that vegans, they don't care. They're purposefully ignorant of it. But in Florida, there was a landmark case where the Florida Supreme Court, and I think Carnival will put up the case law and the article.
It's up.
Miami Shores homeowners may have virtually anything.
Basically,
let me know if you want me to read a little bit of it.
I'll do a quick synopsis. And
oh my God! No, there is.
The Supreme Court is basically said they are not going to look at cases that revolves any kind of restrictions put on local gardeners. This is a real thing, man. Like they don't care anymore.
Well, no, it says the one thing, however, is forbidden: vegetables. Yeah,
no, I mean it's one of those things where, I mean, to a carnist out there, they may look at this and be like, well, why should we care? Hate to break it to you, man. If you can't, if the government isn't going to allow you to grow a garden, they're definitely not going to allow you to do any kind of animal husbandry. You know what I mean?
Control the food, control the people.
Exactly. And this is happening. This happened in the state of Florida, 2018. This happened not too long ago. So a couple of 17 years had a garden, and based on a new aesthetic law. An aesthetic law meaning how it looks. You can have pink flamingos. You can have broken down trucks, broken down boats in your yard, but you can't have a garden. And they've had the garden for 17 years. And the Florida Supreme Court said that they're going to uprule the appellate courts and the upper state Supreme Court, and they are not going to at all interfere with. No, they lost. The Supreme Court said we will not look at any cases revolving local ordinances and home gardeners.
But this couple, Hermine and Tom, won. They can keep their garden.
No, they lost. They cannot keep their garden.
No
yes,
way.
The Supreme Court said they're upholding.
Oh, I get it. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Florida government or federal government is saying they're not going to interfere with Florida wanting to, as we see it, I think, infringe upon their human rights, basically, to grow their own food.
And that's why they were growing their own food, because they were able to feed themselves.
There is something
they were able to feed themselves on what they were able to produce in their yard. What people don't realize is World War II. I'm going to break quick, and I'll let you take over. I appreciate it. In World War II, we had these things called victory gardens and this and that, the other. And I'll probably actually send this article to Carnival as well, so he can put it up. But essentially, during World War II, with all the local co-ops, we were able to produce so much food it made commercial farming irrelevant. And I'll send that article so he can post it up. If we were to do this locally, we can feed the world. This idea that we can't feed the world off our own gardens and off our own lawns is complete misnomer. It's completely ridiculous.
That's like one of my favorite subjects right now for the last.
If you can have a dog, the amount of space it takes to have a dog, you can grow all the meat that you need using, fish or rabbits or whatever. It's possible. Yeah, I think that's the one right there. I think you're looking at it. If you scroll all the way down.
Have you heard of the front yard food movement?
Yes, and I'm actually I belong to a lot of groups and organizations, and there's actually this app out there. And this is something that hopefully you guys might want to do some of your own research on, but there's an app on the phone called Crop Swap. I'm actually on it, and it shows you all you can go on it and you can basically give away or sell
bartering.
That you produce in your own house, and you can see within a 5-mile radius, and you can do everything from negotiate a deal on the app, meet up somewhere. They can drop it off to you if you worry about security. It's called Crop Swap, and it's something that it's a new app that just came out there.
About 75%. Okay, here I am, a single mom. I got all these girls in the house, and I don't make a lot of money. And I'm telling you right now, 75% of my food that I feed my family with comes straight from neighbors or small farms.
Yep.
I only go to the grocery store for stuff that I can't get on the farms, which is literally like hardly anything. Like they want crackers or something like that. So if I can do it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, my biggest
a lot of money.
I can tell you right now. Yeah, I totally agree. And so this idea that we can't feed the world locally is. And here's the thing: vegans will never talk about this because it goes against their very thing that they believe in. Even though they say they care about the environment, they care about the animals, you will never see a vegan movement that's actually trying to provide for themselves. But we see it in the omnivore movement, we see it in the carnist movement, we see it in all these other, I mean, Carnival's a great example. You know, he's doing it for himself. You know what I mean? A lot of the people out there are looking local. Vegans, they don't at all. They want big agriculture, because if they didn't want it, they would talk about not wanting it. But they want big agriculture.
It's such like cutting off your nose to spite your face type of thing.
Because if you grow your own food, you will realize so quickly the importance and need for animals. You really do. This whole veganic gardening thing. Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about veganic gardening for a second. Let's talk about all the implications. I'm ready to go with anybody, and I've went on numerous channels and I've said, hey, if you want to debate this, let's debate it. No, nobody will even touch me on the subject.
They don't know anything about it. It's all theoretical. They don't know shit about that.
They don't know shit. They don't know shit about it at all. We know, as meat eaters, way more about sustainability and actual high animal welfare than any vegan that I've ever seen, ever. Even in real life, not just YouTube.
No, it's funny.
Just avoid the whole subject of eating meat, and this is what I wanted to say. Always say, vegans are doing veganism wrong, because if they're doing veganism wrong because they're exhausting all of their time and energy to convert the entire world to veganism, which is futile. Instead of using their platform, their energy, their money, their voice to promote high animal welfare and sustainability in each neighborhood or each town. You know what I'm saying?
I'll debate any big city vegan, and I will prove to them, according to the official definition of what veganism is, I will prove to them that I am more vegan than they are.
Absolutely.
Right, exactly. Thank you. That's such a good point. I am proud to be a fucking vegan. Because why? Because I care about animals way more than any vegan I've ever talked to or met.
No, it's true. I just had a litter of rabbits not too long ago, and my wife came and grabbed me, and she's like, two of the rabbits are smaller. She took pictures. I was up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, nursing these little guys, and it's like, don't tell me I don't care. Don't tell me
I don't care. Do you know how many rescue critters I have in my little apartment? I can't even, people just hand me their bunnies and stuff like that. So I have all these critters because they're abandoned and they're being neglected.
Here's the thing, and it comes down to this. It really comes down to everybody says follow the money. What's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? Because I feel like for carnists, people that like yourself that used to be vegan, God bless you, I feel like the bottom line is your health, right? So when you care about your health,
about it until I got sick.
Yeah, it's your health. And so vegans, they don't care about that, because if they did, they would want to know what's going on in their food. Like, for example, if you go to the store and you get a tomato versus a tomato that's homegrown, you can do this Brix refractometer. Basically, it will tell you how nutritious that food item is. Yeah, it's something that we do in permaculture all the time. And soil health is so important. People don't realize the food that is in grocery stores, and many times in vitamin content, it's 1/8 what our great grandparents ate. God, and I can send you this article. Actually, I did an article for a journal, and I can send that here to Carnival, and he can put it up if you want to, Carnival. Totally. I did it for the Prepper Journal. I did an article.
And that's why I'm angry, and that's why I'm pissed, because I've spent so much money on organic freaking spinach. You won't even believe it, and here I am anemic.
Just a quick note on veganic farming. I just looked it up on YouTube. There is a video of an expert, I suppose, and it only has a little bit over 7,000 views. Mike the Vegan, who gets, I don't know what he gets, but his views are 100,000 maybe on average per video, made a video about veganic farming, and it only got about a quarter of the views that he usually gets. So,
because they're not interested in growing.
Of course they're not. Of course they're not.
Wow.
So, Carnival, I just sent you an article that I wrote last year for the Prepper Journal. It's called Preppers in Big Agriculture, What You Don't Know About Food Preparedness. and obviously this was written for, somebody more on the sustainability for the sustainability movement, but all the information's there, everything's linked. All the information is there. But yeah, what people don't realize is the food that you're buying at the grocery store is nowhere close to being the food that it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
look around at the people. Humans are supposed to be beautiful and strong. And I didn't realize this because I've been beautiful and strong my whole life.
Yes, you have, dear.
As a vegan. No, I didn't realize this until I got sick. I was an athlete last year. I can barely walk now. Until I got sick, I didn't realize that was the way humans are supposed to be built. I don't know how I got so lucky with the good constitution that I was born with, but I was always heavy, like because I had big bones. I had thick, heavy bones, and I was strong. I always had muscles, even as a child. And now for me to be this sick from eating 80-90% vegetables my whole life.
Right.
I realize now that humans are not supposed to be weak. Where I didn't get it. I never thought of it before. Until you lose something, you don't realize, you know what I'm saying? What you have.
Absolutely. And go ahead, sir.
No, let me tell you something, just an anecdotal example from my life. My wife, who was just eating, not a standard American, omnivorous diet, let's just put it that way, ate some meat, eggs, dairy, so on and so forth. Because of the way I've been eating lately, there's just more meat around. So she's been eating a lot more meat and cut out a lot of the plants. She used to have like these muscle aches in her shoulders and stuff, went away.
Get out.
Yeah. When she works at the farmer's market and she sets up these heavy tents that are, have all this like metal.
I have one of those.
Yeah, she is stronger than an average male. Now, obviously, we're talking about little Ecuadorian men, so they're, not that strong.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I thought that was funny.
No, seriously, like people will be like, how did you get so strong? Like, what are you doing? And people are constantly asking her like about her diet, right? They just look at her, they see her working, and they keep asking her these questions. And she just says, eat meat and fat. Eat more meat and more fat.
Is this your wife?
That's my wife. She's only 5'2", 120 pounds.
Here's the thing. It's probably that and having to deal with us, right?
Having to deal with him.
You got to be a strong woman. But I'm sorry, that's funny. My toxic masculinity speaking. That's
no. But like she noticed. What I'm trying to say is that even though she wasn't vegan, she just took out some of the plants and added more meat to her diet. The difference is noticeable.
Absolutely.
Noticeable. And this is the message that I'm trying to get out there, because I did veganism for 5 years, and then when I was a teenager, and then I just did the plant-based, and I only ate meat. I made 10 years with no meat, and then I started eating meat like a couple times a month, and here I am saying, oh, I eat meat, I'll be fine, a couple times a month. But I didn't realize, now that I eat meat every day, like, wow, the feeling that I have not healed, obviously, but I can sense it's just a different, your brain is different. Your feeling about life is different. Like,
and maybe not everybody's like that. Maybe for some people it won't work like that, but for so many of us, it does.
For so many of it, that maybe, I don't know, but I can see, I personally feel that my genetics or whatever, I should have been eating meat on a daily basis since I was born. Some people maybe don't have, maybe it was my blood type or whatever. Some people might not have to do that, and I don't think everybody should do that. If they don't want to, you have to experiment. But this is how I feel good now, eating meat. And I don't eat a lot, I don't eat a lot of food anymore. I used to eat ginormous amounts of food with rice and all that, vegetables. Now I have like this small bowl of food, and I'm way more satiated.
And this is what like pisses me off. Let me just say one thing, please. This is what like pisses me off when it comes to nutrient density and the quality of the food that's produced. What the vegans will do is they'll compare, a potato to a steak, and they'll act like, well, pound for pound, they're the same. No, a pound of beef, you'd have to eat, I don't know how many pounds of potatoes, and you still wouldn't get all the nutrition that you get from that steak. You might get enough protein, even though it wouldn't be complete. You might get more minerals, but like ultimately,
magnesium.
It's not a one-to-one relationship by weight. It's completely different. And as insofar as environmental impacts. If you're on the toilet 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 times a day, flushing all this stuff, and there's all this matter that all these foods you have to not only buy, but all this matter that you're flushing down the toilet that has to be purified from the water, or it has to be composted. Something has to be done with this. And I versus me, who goes to the bathroom once a day. I mean, it's a stupid example, but it's just one of many I could give you where
more sustainable, better for the earth, right?
Exactly. So go ahead, guys.
No, you're absolutely right. And even I've noticed it. My wife's noticed it. Whenever we went completely, only animals that we eat are ones that we grow ourselves or local. And by local, I mean, I know the people. I know the animals. It's amazing how much I don't have to eat. It's crazy. She's noticed it too.
You eat less. I've even skipped
gosh,
days of eating.
I
literally forget. I'll go to bed and I'm like, oh, wait, did I eat today? I mean, I had 1 glass of milk this morning, and I didn't eat and I'm not hungry.
And not to like shit on people who eat plants, because I noticed the same thing when I came from eating, vegetables grown in the United States versus vegetables grown here in Ecuador. All of a sudden, everything was just more nutritious because it's a lot of the stuff that I would eat was grown in people's gardens,
No, I totally
across the world.
I totally agree with you. Like,
it's not just the relationship between meat and vegetables, but like better quality food in general.
Tree ripens, vine ripens.
Sure. No, and here's the thing, guys. Like I said, we can have disagreements on the amount of animals or animal products to eat, but at the end of the day, that doesn't bother me if somebody's like, "Oh, I can never be plant-based." That's fine, dude, and it doesn't bother me at all. All I would ask from you is just to be more sustainable. I don't care what kind of diet. Yeah, I don't care what kind of diet you have. Like I said, my rabbits, they're chickens, even because I grow fish as well because I have aquaponics. I mean, these guys are eating high quality duckweed. That's a good basis. That's high in cal. Like if you eat too much duckweed, you can actually get kidney stones from too much calcium. 40% protein. It's a superfood. So when you're feeding this to your animals, you're feeding them high quality pasture grass. You're feeding them good compostables and stuff that that I'm growing here. All my vegetables and stuff, tons of compost tea, tons of rabbit manure and stuff. I doesn't hurt my feelings at all because I know the stuff that I'm producing is super high octane, super high quality, and I wish I could share it with the world. And I know I can't feed the world, but one garden at a time, man. I mean, I can't stress locality enough because at the end of the day, when anything happens, look what happened in California, with the fires, like, Venezuela, people are literally eating
say something about that,
and all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so I did a little bit of research. I did a piece about the almond milk not being vegan because it destroyed. Okay, so there was a farmer, there was a guy, it was just a guy, and he has a horse in his backyard in California, and he has a canal in his backyard, and he was siphoning water from the canal to water the grass so his horse would be able to eat. Okay, because the way that they were allowing you a certain amount of water, he couldn't water his grass. So his horse was starving. He was having to go buy processed food for his horse. So he started siphoning the water. He got fined, thousands of dollars. They're threatening his land and all this stuff. Meanwhile, 75% of the almonds produced in California go straight to China. And all of the water used to water those almond groves, I'm not even going to talk about the bees being destroyed, but all of the water to water those almond groves comes from the California water table. Why are they allowed to water their almond groves and send pretty much packing up the water that California is dry and on fire, and they're packing up 75% of the water and sending it straight to China. But this little dude is getting fined.
Yes.
Let me just tell you something because, sorry, bro.
You're good.
Because I lived in California and I experienced a lot of what you're talking about. And you're absolutely right. Vegans want to act like their food doesn't require a lot of water. Watering those trees in those orchards takes an immense amount of water. And like you're saying, people in the cities, people in the South Bay, for example, or just the Bay Area in general, they will get fined if they use too much water to water their garden or lawn or whatever. So they're their water consumption is being restricted. They're getting charged up the ass for water.
Yeah, they're getting charged up the ass.
they're being made. You're seeing all these front lawns getting converted into like desert, like landscaping.
You should have seen the picture of this poor horse with his dried up grass sitting in his backyard like nothing to eat. And they find this guy because they charged him with messing up the California water table. What a joke.
But this is going back to what you were saying, Millennial, how people, even though what you're talking about is legislature, this is another way people are being prevented from being self-sustained.
The water.
Being self-sustaining, or at the very least supplementing some of their food from, you know, their backyard or whatever. They can no longer do that because it's too expensive, and they will get fined for using too much water.
Right. According
and they can't even, one last thing, they can't even recycle, like it's illegal for them to use gray water recycling. For people who don't know what it is
right now, are
using using your shower water to water your garden, it's illegal.
That's illegal.
Yes. Right. So according to the latest and greatest, 1 gallon of almond milk requires 920 gallons of water. So to put that in perspective for somebody who's a permaculturist, I can use 900. It takes me about 900 gallons of water in totality to produce all the meat that it would take to feed a family of 4 in 1 year, if you just use rabbits, right? So yes, and that's just 1 gallon of almond milk. So this idea that, you know, these vegan alternatives are healthy or good for the environment is null. Yes, I don't believe that. I don't believe that the whole almond industry is vegan, because in order for it to work 110%, you do need to bring in bees from all over the country to pollinate.
They ship them from across all over 900
miles. You have to. There's no way around it.
But then they kill the bees. The bees are expendable. They kill because once the bees pollinate, then they spray and all the bees die.
So if you think that, you know, and then that's the thing, these vegans will be like, oh, well, guess what? I went to Chipotle and I got like a vegan burrito, so I'm totally vegan, and you are a horrible person. It's like, dude, really? And that's what it is. They're consumers.
And you know that most states in the United States, you were talking about the gray water, which is shocking, and I'd like to know why. I always want to know why about things. But that you are not allowed. There's laws in Florida right now, and I know in a lot of other states, you are not allowed to collect rainwater because you mess up the water table, supposedly. So people do collect rainwater, but they enforce it when they feel like enforcing it, and they'll just shut your whole thing down. Like, people have rainwater barrels, they have them hidden in bushes and stuff like that because they have to do it in secret around here.
So let me kind of I'll give you some insider baseball on that. And I'm going to stay as vague as possible in certain aspects, just because I kind of have to. But when you're looking at a lot of these legislations, okay, this is based upon my training experience. When you're looking at it, for example, if you were to have a rain catchment system that was for feeding for watering your garden stuff, there are prerequisites that it has to have. And so if it's just to, you know, hey, I'm collecting water to, you know, feed my garden or water my garden, okay. But if you say you're going to use it for human personal consumption, then there are
bathing.
There are restrictions and requirements that are put in by local ordinances in which your water has to be of a certain type, a certain kind. It has to pass parts per parts per million. And that
makes sense, because ppm. There was a woman that got her entire homestead shut down because she only had 2 water barrels, and she supported her whole house on 2 water barrels, and they shut her down.
So you got to be careful with that, because it's one of those things where they are going to enforce the law based on local ordinances, and obviously they might take a particular interest in certain people. That's not for me to decide. But when you're talking about, you know, if you're out there saying, oh, I have this huge rain catchment system that I'm using to only feed, you know, to feed me and my family and everything like that. Well, if you live within a city that has harsh, you know, locality restrictions, then that's gonna be a thing. However, I've never seen it an issue when you are, you know, saying, oh, I have a rain barrel and I'm using it for my garden. Nobody cares. But the second you mention it,
you're right. You're right.
The second you say, and so a lot of that has to do with, you know, the insider baseball of localities. Oh, I agree. And I'm not trying to negate that. I'm just saying that that's something to look into, because a lot of these people that try to go off grid, it's the same thing we're seeing with solar, right? It's the same thing. You have to be connected to the grid. If you have solar on your roof, a lot of states don't allow you to have any kind of battery backup. like the Powerwall. The
you
Tesla
have to
Powerwall
give the extra back to the electric company.
Exactly, and that's just, you know, and that's because we don't have feed-in tariffs here, and it goes into a big thing. I know we're not trying to talk about sustainability here, but just know that there are laws out there that would prohibit you if you were to say, hey, I have 1,000, 2,000 gallons of water in a cistern, and I'm going to cut myself off the grid. You might want to be careful, because now you would be subject to all these different things. Instead, you could just say it's for my garden, and boom, it's still going to be there. Does that make sense?
One rain barrel, and it's for my garden. But
well, you can have multiple rain barrels. I'm just saying, don't say that, oh, I'm using it for human consumption. No, it's for my garden, guys. Okay, cool. You see what I mean?
Why can't you use gray water? Do you have any insight on that? That is
well, I mean, like here's the thing. When you're talking about gray water, black water systems, and I'm just speaking from an RV perspective, because it's easiest for most people to understand.
Yeah, I used to live in a boat.
So once that water has went over a human or whatever like that, once it's been used in that capacity, that water becomes a different classification, right? So we kind of have this very similar. I was a Navy corpsman. You were Army medic. So when you're talking about biohazard, you know, you're talking about making sure you universal precautions, like blood has any kind of thing that's been, you know, had blood or any kind of body fluids on it, BSI, you take BSI precautions versus something that happens.
So they don't want that going back into.
Well, no, it's just classifications, right? So blood would be one classification, spit would be a classification, fecal matter would be a classification. Does that make sense? So black water is a classification, gray water is a classification.
But they don't want that gray water going back to
right, because that gray water is subject. Yeah, because that gray water is subject in a different classification, and they don't want that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
From a weird way. I mean, obviously we look at it differently, but you know, blood is a classification, black water is a classification.
But isn't it all fertilizer?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you're using non-green, non-biodegradable soaps or something like that, lotions, that kind of thing. You know, so it's how you're looking at it. You know what I mean? And you know, rightfully so. I mean, if you've ever been in the field or you've ever, you know, been out there where there's lots of people. Yeah, I mean, the reason why we have infrastructures for a reason. And I think that if you can be responsible with how you get rid of your waste, it'll be fine. Most people aren't. So you can't expect local governments to not take a personal vested interest when you have all these, you know, because this is going to sound sad, but there's a lot of people that go off grid and they have the best intentions. And there are other people that go off grid that don't have the best intentions. And how do you differentiate the two besides getting a warrant, going in there and figuring it out, right? Based upon them breaking, you know, law that's been set in place. And like I said, I'm not here to say all laws are good and all laws are bad. That's not the conversation we had. But just realize when you're talking about water and you're talking about classifications, it's just different classification. If you use it to wash your body with, it becomes a certain classification.
Right. Yeah, I thought it would be a good thing to recycle the water, but I guess not.
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying from a legality standpoint.
Yeah, from a legality standpoint, I guess not. You know, right?
Yeah, so something soiled in blood has the classification. Something soiled in urine or feces has another classification, right? You've been in the medical field, you get it, and it's the same thing for the black water, gray water.
Nature fallacy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly what you guys are talking about, but it sounds like a fallacy to me.
Yeah, because people used to shit in the woods and all that.
Gosh,
nature fallacy
is awesome.
Maybe they still do. I'm sure they do.
That was good.
I will sometimes. What?
Yeah.
Don't we all? That's not a natural thing.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I've lived outdoors.
There you go.
That's funny.
So yeah, and it's great they're having this conversation because you know you're never going to hear a vegan have this conversation.
I would like to say something about so something Carneval. That's that Sardinia video you made, Carneval. Really got me thinking. Okay, because you know I have these debates and they say, oh, you can't. The first thing, you can't feed everybody meat and all this other stuff. You can't do this on a large scale. Yes, I know, but what I'm saying to these people is, doing it on a large scale is going to fail. You do it on a small scale. And I didn't know how to explain it. They're like, well, tell me how, tell me your plan. And I'm like, first of all, you know, I don't have this great plan, but I know that we can at least try to turn in that direction. But now I do understand better how this can work from Carneval's Sardinia video, where that island is self-contained and it has to be on a small scale.
They supply other places with meat. They don't just feed themselves. themselves. They feed all of Italy with
because
their,
you said they had a surplus and they
Of
only
course.
will export their surplus. So the exporting, like of the almonds, for example, I can understand using up the water table to feed California. The water from California should be used to feed California, is what I'm saying, not China, for God's sakes.
The biggest mistake that people commit in arguing, debating this, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier, that a potato is not a steak, is the fact that, and I'm going to give you a personal anecdote once again. I've been eating raw meat, and I'm not saying this is what people should do, but when I went from eating vegetables, yeah, when I went from eating omnivore to like 95% carnivore, the volume of food decreased. Then I went,
the volume decreased. Right?
yeah, then I went raw meat, and I eat literally 2/3 of what I ate as carnivore, and I'm utilizing the food better. There's a lot less coming out. Speaking of fertilizer and pooping, but
A lot less coming out.
so this is the thing that is never mentioned in these debates. How many pounds of corn we could grow per hectare of
Right.
land versus how much beef we could produce. Well, how much, if we switch to a highly carnivorous diet, how much less food are we going to need by volume?
Exactly. This is something I would never, ever, ever get until it happened to me. Because my plates, and you've seen, I don't know if you've seen back several months ago when I first started eating meat on a daily basis, I was still eating grains. My plates were huge and I was so full that I was sick. And then I still would get up and go to the fridge later and look for more food. I just constantly had the munchies or whatever. So now I forget to eat because I'm eating way more meat. I still eat plants, but now the tables have turned. It's 90% animals and then 10% fruit.
I'm 170 pounds and I work all day. Don't get me wrong, I don't bust my ass like crazy, but I'm outside just about 12 hours every day, outside, right? Walking around at the very least. And I will eat less than 2 pounds of, less than that. It's about 1.5 pounds of food every day. Now name me a vegan my size who doesn't eat at least 3 pounds of food.
I know I ate that. I was a binge eater because I've obviously it's because I was malnourished. I see that now, but I didn't realize I was malnourished until I was not malnourished. I didn't realize it until I became sick and I started eating meat, and I'm like, oh, this is what satiation means. Like it's not a full belly. Satiation doesn't mean a full belly. It's an all over nourished feeling that I've never experienced before in my life. And you don't get it until it happens to you, which is how are people supposed to, get this until they try it, I don't know. And,
but you're right. The whole world you could feed people on a meat diet if you wanted to.
Because it feels gluttonous.
You could do it.
I look back now and it was like, damn, I was a pig. Like it feels gluttonous to eat that much freaking food. Now I eat out of a small bowl. It doesn't feel like I used to. I look back and it was like gluttony,
your body just needs it. Especially if you're buying the stuff from the grocery store. Like I said, 1/8 the vitamin content that it did in the past. Like, oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Right. I was starving even though I was eating way more food than my capacity. I was still starving because the nutrition density of the plants compared to the meats.
I was looking at some stats somebody did somewhere, and it was something along the lines of you could take the entire world population and fit it into Texas. Obviously, you'd have like house next to a house next to a house, but you could fill all of Texas and everybody would get about an acre of land, every family that is, or enough to grow their own food, basically. But this is just the state of Texas. You know what I mean? So
right, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. And this one vegan dude, because my whole plan, he's like, give me a plan. How are you going to feed the whole world? And I'm like, and I said my little plan about, bartering with your neighbors. Your neighbors has chickens, you make soap, you exchange things like that. Plus you grow some of your own food, animals or plants. Plus you support your small local farmers who actually have surplus. These people are going out of business because they can't sell all of their food. And if there's small farms in every county, multiple small farms allowed to sustain in every county, just to feed that county, then that's heading towards the direction of sustainability and feeding the whole world. And he goes, well,
Right.
how are you gonna feed New York City? And I'm like, well, New York City's fucked. I'm sorry. Big cities are going to fail first in a time of emergency.
See, and that's the thing. They don't have to. And I'm going to quote this, and this is totally backed by the literature that I already showed you. It's from Bill Mollison, and Bill Mollison is no carnist in the slightest, right? This guy is, for all intents and purposes, practices in a very intense plant-based diet. He said the greatest change we need to make is from consumption to production, even on a small scale in our own gardens. If only 10% of us do this, there's enough for everyone. Hence the futility of revolutionaries, aka vegans, who have no gardens, who depend on the very system they attack, who produce words and bullets and not food and shelter. Yeah. Bill Mollison. And it's so true, because we have the ability to do this. I mean, with science, technology, I mean, we have aquaponics, which I do, hydroponics, raised beds. Like, you have all these different ways that you can produce food in a city, and you can feed people. The problem is vegans would rather go online, and they would rather rant, hoot, and holler and say how hard they have it instead of actually doing something. They're not doers.
Get dirty. Get your hands dirty, for God's sake.
Vegans are not doers. I'm sorry. Whoever that bald-headed guy is that thinks he's a hotshot because he went in opened some meat cages. Who, the guy from the video, the greatest vegan speech? Yeah. He thinks he's some kind of revolutionary, that he's some badass because he went in and he opened some cages for some minks. Dude, get over yourself. You're nobody. You know what I mean? If you're gonna go around, fucker. Yeah, if you're gonna go around and hollering,
that's not a joke either. I'm not joking.
What do you mean it's not a joke?
Wasn't Tristan talking about this on his last podcast or a couple podcasts ago? Oh no, sorry. This is Peter Singer, who was advocating for zoophilia, bestiality, basically. But Gary Yourofsky is seen in certain videos filling up on cattle, essentially.
Why?
Because these people are demented, man. They're just. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject, man.
All I'm saying is people like him, they just want to go out and hoot and holler. They want to say how horrible everybody is. They want to talk about Holocaust, and they want to do all these different things. And it's like, well, why do you support big agriculture? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And that's what it comes down to. Like, we are doers. We're people that do things. Vegans, they are complainers. They want to go to Chipotle. They want to go get their organic options. And yeah, this guy thinks he's some hero because he opened some cages for some minks. And then you have you have Carb Strong, whoever, and he will be in front of a cow that's dying. Oh, let me pet you as you're suffering from hemorrhaging. It's like, oh, let me pet you. Oh, this is so sad. It's like, if you really thought that was as horrible as the Holocaust, would you not do something? Right. So it's just like, yeah, I'm sorry, you're pathetic, and I don't take anything you're saying seriously because you. Well,
let me tell you something. I honestly, they don't have the strength because my dairy farm, I deliver raw milk, okay, and I am out there every day promoting small farms. I try. Anybody that will listen, I will tell them where to buy their milk and their meat and all this other stuff. Well, I don't have the energy. I literally don't. Now that I'm anemic, I don't have the physical energy to go out onto the farm and work anymore. I can deliver now. I'm delivering. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly don't think they're well enough to do any hard work.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you. Like I said, I have a tendency to piss a lot of people off from both the vegan and carnivore side of the equation. But no, I believe, here's the thing. I think milk that you buy in stores is horrible. I don't believe milk should be pasteurized. Yeah, I think how you buy milk in the store is ridiculous. So what is because when I've talked to people, and I'm not trying to say don't shop at grocery stores. I know most of the people that I'm probably here do, but I could never see why anybody would want to, especially after having raw milk. What's the benefits of even drinking milk from the store? I don't know. And maybe you can kind of shed some light on that, because I don't believe that.
I know why. I'll tell you exactly why. And this is the number one argument that question. The first question I get: how much is it? Okay, my milk is $10 a gallon. My farmer barely covers a profit. Selling her milk at $10 a gallon. Okay, so this is what I try to tell people: if you buy 1 gallon of milk a month, you're going to spend the same amount as if you buy 4 of your pasteurized gallons a month, and you're going to get 99% more nutrition. So even buying that 1 gallon a month, you say you can't afford it. They say they can't afford it. Even buying that 1 gallon a month is going to be way more nutritious than buying 4 gallons of pasteurized milk a month. So you're basically throwing your money down the drain. I try to convince people of this, and just you don't have to buy. Me, I'm lucky. I have so much milk. Like I don't even know. I'm about to go on a raw milk diet.
I'm just saying, it's one of those things where I'll talk to, like, no joke, I'll talk to vegans and I'll say, well, you have the whole thing wrong when it comes to milk. Yeah, the milk talk bad about milk that you buy at grocery stores. Cool. That's awesome. I agree. But then people like you, it's like, no, that's the milk you should be drinking. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's this interesting dichotomy, because we live in a world where, everything we see food wise is something that, we get in the store. And I guess growing up, I was lucky enough to grow up in a family of permaculturists, of people that garden. This is just the lifestyle that I was blessed enough to be raised in. I have bushes that go back 4 or 5 generations. I can sire my animals back 5 generations. So I have that luxury.
You don't have that mindset. Like, you're lucky enough.
Exactly. And it's like raw milk. That's what you should be drinking. That's what you.
Oh my God. It's a superfood.
And
I can't live without it. It's half of my whole family.
And yet when you
the
boil
baby
it
will
down,
cry and cry and cry if she doesn't.
I just don't get it.
Milk.
So I just want to kind of get your perspective from that, because I'll admit,
thing is convenience. So it's money. So I'm telling them, spend $10 a gallon a month instead of spending $10 on cheap ass pasteurized milk. So you won't have to spend any more money. You're still going to get way more nutrition. Number 2, convenience. People are lazy, and it's not that they're lazy. I take that back. It's hard to change your habit. Yeah, it's hard to change your habits, because to get the raw milk, you want to go to people want to go to the grocery store and get everything in one shot. To get your raw milk, you have to text our delivery girl or text our order taker, and then wait for it to come on Wednesday and put a cooler out. Things like that is a little bit more effort.
Right. And I'm lucky. Yeah. And I'm lucky enough. Yeah. I'm lucky enough where, when I get my milk products and stuff like that, or animal products, whatever, like milk and that kind of thing, I know a lot of co-ops here that they don't produce, milk on a grade, like people that do it for their own personal consumption or whatever. Right. So, I mean, it's not something that we see, marketed, and that's kind of the thing. Like, what it sounds like the thing that you're doing is great, because it's small, local. But with anything else, when you start talking about capitalism, is great. Don't get me wrong. But when you're talking about subsidies and you're talking about everything you're seeing, the more, when money becomes the bottom line, you're going to see the quality go down. And we've seen that in every facet.
Like, why are you going to buy cheap food?
Exactly. Man, the biggest organic producer in the world is SoCal Farms, obviously in Southern California, and they use bone meal. They use all the stuff. They can still use manure from cattle that have been treated with hormones and drugs. And that's not, and it's not even really organic, in my opinion. So it's just, when we start to see this dismantlement of small and local, you're always going to see problems. So I think it's great that you're doing what you're doing, and that I've wanted to ask you that for a while, but I think that's a great perspective that you put on it. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just people having to realize, when I'm going to a store, I'm looking at a package, but if you only knew what was inside of that food, and if you only knew where it came from, it'd probably scare you a little bit.
And you respect it, man. I had this epiphany one time, and this is going to sound weird, but I don't remember what it was, but I remember the concept. When I first started feeling satiated from eating meat on a daily basis, I felt, I don't know why, I'm not religious or anything. I was raised Catholic, but I don't really care about that anymore. I suddenly got an image of, the biblical times when they used to sacrifice animals. Okay.
Right.
I literally understood that. I was like, at first I'm like, oh my God, it's horrible. And you think that it's horrible. You're just killing an animal for what? Now, and I suddenly got it. And I don't know why I got it. And it sounds stupid, but I don't remember why. And I'm hoping it comes back to me, but it was great, man. The epiphany that I had. It's just, what I'm trying to say is, I've always been an animal lover, but now I can't even describe the love and respect that I have for animals now, because they keep my family alive. They keep my family alive. We were all sick. All of my girls had anemia. My teenage daughter.
Yeah, it goes back to intent means opportunity. When we're like the whole name your trait thing. I don't believe that there's a trait that allows you to kill anything, but your justification is intent means an opportunity. And when you're justifying doing everything you can to protect your family, to feed your family, and that animal is now dispatched the most humane way possible, fed the best way, taken care of the best way to provide the best product for you. I mean, that's way better than what vegans can say.
And I think that's what
they're out there poisoning animals. They're purposefully poisoning animals just to kill them, because how dare that rabbit exist to want to eat food? That's what vegans are saying.
But I think that's what they should be promoting with their large platform on social media. They could be promoting what I try to promote and you try to promote on your tiny little platform. Who hears me? 200 people of, boycott factory farms and all the, the abuse of the animals and stuff. And I've seen factory dairy farms compared to my small farm, and it's a huge difference in animal welfare. And instead of them promoting small animal, they're not helping the animals.
I agree. And there are some vegans out there. I will say John Kohler from Growing Your Grains, personal hero of mine. If you want to talk about somebody that can tear apart big agriculture, it's him. He's a vegan and he produces all his own food. He does. I mean, like I said, I'm not a vegan, but he has done more for the permaculture and gardening, platforms.
Okay, how about
than mostly anybody.
How about this, vegans? This is a message straight to vegans. Go ahead and promote your veganism. I don't give a crap. But on the side, can you throw the animals a bone and promote boycotting factory or animal torture? Can you throw the animals a bone? Can you help them out a little with your platform by promoting small local farms that, okay, yes, you say the kill is not humane. We disagree. The kill is not humane, but the entire life of the animal, you can see the farms. It's beautiful, peaceful, safe. The entire life of the animal is amazing compared to the factory farms. So throw the animals a bone and try to promote small factory farms, small farms, because people are not going to quit veganism. And why did Carneval disappear?
I'm not sure. As people still. Maybe he just logged off for a second. It looks like we're still on.
Yeah, we are. I don't know. Are we?
I don't know. I think we are.
Okay.
I think we are.
There he is. Where'd you go?
Yeah. He's doing secret squirrel stuff. He's Carneval.
Hey,
you guys were climb a tree.
You guys were talking too much truth. I think.
I got it.
The stream got censored by some Google bot. I don't know. We went online. We went offline for a second. I don't know.
No, you disappeared. I'm like, where'd he go?
But yeah, everything you're saying, Siren, is 100% right. And I think that, when you're talking about being ethical, how we are is way more ethical than vegans. Like I said, you got to give me a justification for intentionally poisoning an animal to where their lungs fill up with blood just because that rabbit dared to live and eat some corn. You know what I mean?
God.
You have to justify grinding up tons of animals in factory equipments just for wanting to live. You have to justify enslaving children, as 70% of the global child labor market is in plant agriculture. You have to justify.
No, but you don't understand, Millennial. You don't understand. It's unintentional. The blood is not on there.
Is that what they say? Because
it's intentional. Poison is intentional. If I go out there and I poison you, that's intentional.
It's unintentional. Well, you know what? I don't personally kill my animals to eat. So how about me eating meat is unintentional? What is their argument? How about the animals dying for my meat is unintentional then? Is that their argument for grinding up all of the birds and rabbits with the
even if you could say that that's unintentional, because the combine isn't going out there to do that, that's what's happening. It's an inevitable result of animal agriculture. However, how do you put that same argument on pesticides, which are specifically designed to kill these animals, rabbits, snakes, all of them?
And how come they're not? How come they're not advocating for change in that area? Hand harvesting, for example. You wouldn't be able to, because they can't sustain. You can't sustain doing things a natural way as a vegan if you're going to be in a vegan diet for the world. You can't hand harvest. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Carnival, have you seen those videos of pet dogs dying from pesticides?
No, what?
No, I've read articles about this being a problem.
It's on. I mean, if you want to talk about, how they do slaughterhouse porn, there are videos on YouTube of animals dying because of wolf poison or other kinds of poison. And you see these dogs literally lungs fill up with blood, and they go over and they start having, they start seizing up.
How do they
These
get
videos exist because these are dogs that are on big property, and the property's been sprayed.
Oh,
and
right,
it killed.
Right.
And yeah, and if you want to, when you see, I've seen it, and when you see a dog die because it ingested pesticides, they seize up, their lungs fill with blood, and it starts coming out of every orifice, and that's what really happens. But nobody wants to talk about that, and that's what happens to every animal that comes in contact with that poison.
Well, that's what irritates me, because they literally will ignore you if you ask them that type of question. Like, well, what about this? What about the animals? What about the pesticides?
Everything Carneval's saying is, everything you're saying is true, because poison is intentional. There's nothing unintentional about poisoning something. You know what I mean? So it's a misnomer, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about how it's subsidized so high. I mean, when you're subsidizing plant agriculture more than you're subsidizing oil, and in the UK more than their military, like, what are you getting from that? I'm sorry. If my country is subsidizing, plant agriculture to $80 billion, I better not have to pay for it. But now we're paying more than ever before. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they don't care.
Yeah, there's some videos of dogs dying from pesticides, and it's horrible. It's
I don't want to see
wow.
it. I can't watch. I don't even watch like bite size. Some of the vegans I can't watch. If I hear that they have animal slaughterhouse footage, I won't even watch them. I can't. Because why? Because that really hurts me, and I care about. That's what I'm trying to fight against. Like, the torture of animals and stuff. That's one of the things, and nutrition, of course. So you can call me an ethical meat eater.
Right. No, and yeah, so it's strychnide is the pesticide that's used, but yeah, it's horrible. I mean,
was it you, Carneval, that told me? Was somebody who commented? I commented on someone's, and they responded by saying, "You ever notice how the birds follow the harvesting machines because so many animals get tore up, like the seagulls and the the birds of prey. They will follow the harvesting machines when they come out because so many animals get ground up. And that is like, they don't address that.
They don't care. It's not about animal welfare. It really isn't. I don't deny the fact that when they watch this,
they lie.
When they watch this stuff on these, PETA videos, I don't understand. I'm not saying that they don't have a visceral emotional reaction to that, but ultimately it's not about that. It's about telling you what to do. It's about controlling someone else.
What is
it's about
is it that?
It's about virtue signaling.
It's just this is you know what? I just realized something. You're right. It's about because they have some serious emotional like inner turmoil with their own selves, and it's kind of like being a bully. The bully feels bad about himself. That's why he bullies. So they're doing the virtue signaling because they're not happy with their own selves. So they project that anger and that control onto other people. Maybe, like, what is it? It's not the animals. It's not health. We know that's clear. So what is it? Is it emotional turmoil?
So somebody just posted in the comments. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, just look at how vegans will debate you. They don't respect the person they disagree with at all.
I'll sit there and say me and my mom and my 2 daughters nearly die, and they're like, "Oh, well, you should have ate B12. You should have took B12 shots."
So I think it's funny, Carneval. Somebody just sent you a comment. Whatever. He said, "You're kind of misrepresenting vegans. Most will admit they're moral nihilist. The arguments are from a standpoint of consistency." Yeah, consistently killing animals just because they dare to live with poison in which their lungs fill up with blood. Good job, bro.
Good job.
You know what I mean? Like, come on.
You see, they're not hearing what we just said. What about addressing what we just said instead of just flipping it and saying, "Well, you're bad." What about the details of these animals being ground up, and how is that vegan?
It doesn't make any sense what this person said, because if they're moral nihilists, they don't believe morals exist. It's not important to them. So why are they moral fagging if they're moral nihilists? It doesn't make any sense. And how is that consistent? These people don't even get me started.
I know. And if you're happy with your own self, if you feel content, you don't care what other people do. I don't give a shit if you want to be a vegan. Go ahead, leave me alone.
Yeah,
like, but they're not
exactly.
happy with themselves, so they have to project and try to control what you're doing, and irritates them what you're doing and stuff. That's the only thing I can think of. It's just
they're
angry people.
Yeah, they're consistent in killing animals. That's what they're consistent in doing, and they do it without recourse, and they do it without caring. It's just if you do it and you're not under their guise of what their worldview is, they have to go after you, because these people are not producers. Okay, these people don't produce anything of merit. All they do is they virtue signal. Exactly. They virtue signal, and like show me the off-grid vegans out there that are producing all their own food, not using supplementation. They just don't exist. They don't show them to me. You know what I mean? Show me the people that are out there doing it the way their ancestors supposedly did.
With millennial, how can you argue with millennial of people eating meat, and years and years, thousands and thousands of years of people eating meat? How can you argue with that? This is before internet, before social media, before anybody was learning about food. They just had food. They just eat food.
No, the Romans had a chronometer.
They had
guys,
and they had their own lambs, and they had their own milk, and they had their own goats, and they had their own olive trees. People were self-sustained in their own little yard.
Just to quickly answer this person who doesn't make any sense and is contradicting themselves.
Any comments? How do I get to the comments?
You just got to go to the video page through my channel.
Just be sure to.
Oh, okay.
Be sure to mute it.
But anyway, moral nihilism. This is from Wikipedia.
I muted it.
It's the meta-ethical view. I thought vegans didn't like meta-ethics, but when it's convenient, I guess they do. Excuse me. It's the meta-ethical view that nothing is morally right or wrong. So how are you asking me to be consistent within my ethical system when you're a moral nihilist who doesn't believe anything is right or wrong? And once again, how is that consistent on your part? You don't believe morals exist, but I have to act in a moral way. You're not making any sense, and you're definitely not consistent. So get lost. Anyway.
You're making too much sense.
Okay, that didn't work. I didn't hear anything you just said. Did you ask a question? I just got back in.
No, that's fine. I was addressing someone in the chat room. They're just they want to be philosophers, but they're basing everything on their feelings. They're not interested in the truth, investigating and finding out what's really real. They just adopt these moral theories, these philosophical concepts, which they don't even understand themselves. And then they just want to throw big words and phrases at you so that hopefully they hope you're not familiar with the meaning of some of these words. And then they can say, you're just too dumb. I can't talk to you because you're just too dumb. I'm so much better than you.
Carnival, stop. You got to talk about, I have to throw this out there, brother. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to totally disagree with you. If you take the consciousness and the alien, whoa. Okay, the sentience of the alien, according to the square circle theory. No, hear me out. Stop. That's nature fallacy. Wait. Stop.
Oh my
Stop.
God.
Slow down.
Oh,
Slow
that's
down.
a perfect example.
I'm sorry. I had to, brother. I appreciate it.
You're right. You're right. I'm wrong. You're intelligent. I'm stupid.
Sorry, I had to.
Perfect example. The ask yourself situation. I listened to some of that. I can't even hear his voice. It just gives me stress.
Cancer. No, I mean, the guy's completely illogical, because look, if you adopt this illogical worldview, something that doesn't make any sense in the real world, of course you're going to have to justify it with aliens and orthogonal concepts that don't make any sense to anybody.
Talk about going off the subject.
You know what I want to do, honestly, Carnival? Every time he's in his little flat or studio or whatever, he has that refrigerator in the background. I just want to be like, open it.
Yeah,
we're gonna see all these meat products fall out. Every time I see it, I'm like, open the fridge.
Yeah, you should.
See what's in it.
Fish oil, creatine.
Yeah.
So actually, I think I figured it out. Okay, so three reasons why people are like militant vegans. One is weakness, like following the social media crowd. One is anger. They have internal anger and they're projecting. And the other one is just ignorance because they think it's healthy and it's not. And that's the only reason I can think of that people choose to be like vegans and very much into veganism is those three things, because it's certainly not to save the animals or to save the earth.
It's not. You're right. That was really good. You're absolutely right. They don't. And I don't understand the whole militant vegan movement. I mean, I'm very familiar with the ELF and these type of organizations, but they make no sense. This goes back to the hypocrisy. It's okay to kill babies. It's okay to enslave children and babies. It's okay to do abortion or whatever, but it's not okay to eat an egg, right? And I'm not trying to state anything. It's just hypocrisy. Then you have the ELF that will go to Oregon and Coos County, totally burn down a lumber yard, burn down trees for them cutting trees.
Wow.
You know, you have all this hypocrisy. You know what I mean? And it's just
hypocrisy.
it makes no sense.
How about this for hypocrisy? And this is the vegan couples from the vegan couple. I did a piece on them because they love to say, "You're not a baby cow. You're not a baby cow. Why do you drink milk?" Well, that makes no sense to me, because who cares if I'm not a baby cow? I still drink milk for the nutrition. Now, somebody commented, and it was perfect. They said, well, because they ask, are you a baby cow? And my comeback for that could be, are you a full grown cow? No, then why do you eat so much salad? Why do you eat so much greens? Why are you trying to mimic the diet of a full grown cow? You're coming down on me for mimicking the diet of a baby cow. You know,
and look,
trying to be a full-grown cow.
These almonds triggered me.
the nutrition contained within, be it almonds, soybeans, or cashew, whatever the hell they make this quote unquote milk from, that nutrition is meant for the little plant. It's not meant for you either. So it's a parallel argument. It doesn't make any sense. You just refuted. You just took away your own, within your own ethical system, you took away your own right to drink almond milk because it wasn't meant for you. You know what I mean? It really wasn't.
It wasn't meant for you. You're right.
And biologically, biochemically speaking,
the almond trees.
Cow's milk is so much more biochemically similar to human milk than almond milk will ever be. So it doesn't make any sense on any level.
Until it's pasteurized.
No, right.
Okay. Well, okay.
Then it's just white water. The white water. I saw something funny today on YouTube, and I didn't get a chance to watch it. It was the title of the video, "You'll Die. You will die." Okay, you know how they always try to mimic meat, like fake meats and stuff? They say, vegan salmon and stuff like that. These videos are just ridiculous. Jeez. Somebody literally just made a video, and I'm going to watch it later. And the title of the video was "Soy-Free Tofu." And she's holding up these little white squares. And I'm like, what in the world are they? Now they're mimicking their own like plants, like with other things. Like it makes no sense at all. Soy-free tofu? What is it? What could it be? I want to see that video and then laugh, because
how do people think that this Impossible Burger and these meat, like honestly, how can you say that these meat substitutes are anywhere close to being environmentally friendly when you're taking plant products from all over the world? They're grown in oil, packaged in oil, transported oil to another store that's powered by oil that processes them in oil, using oil, puts them in more plastic, and then like how's that more environmentally friendly than you going out and dispatching an animal? Honestly, like I'm answer that question. Especially vegans, anybody, like how does that even make sense? Honestly, because like I can make a rabbit burger right now, and I can do it all off solar, no electricity, no oil, no chemicals, no plastic. Right. It's in one of my last videos I did. So this idea that this Impossible Burger is somehow environmentally friendly, I just don't get it.
Because it's not. Because the truth is it's not. It's not, and they're not doing it for the animals. They're not doing it for the earth, and it proves it. All you have to do is lift up one little layer, and you'll see that this is not sustainable, and this is not earth friendly, and not animal friendly. One layer.
Tofu's garbage. Soybeans are garbage. I wouldn't feed that to my animals even.
Absolutely not. I care about them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh gosh.
I don't want to get man boobs.
That's
the fear alone, just the risk of getting man boobs, and they're still going to put soy in their mouth. Like you don't even. Okay, they're going to say, "Oh, that's not going to happen." Just the thought of it And other people
They
saying
don't-
it will happen. Is that enough?
They don't have enough fat on their bodies to maintain.
make
I
bamboo.
know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just bad for you. Soy. That's why
Soy
the
what's
Japanese
that? What
fermented.
is?
That's why they fermented that shit for 2 years before they even ate it.
Mhm.
That's how you got natto, which is supposedly good for you. When I think it's just, it won't
Oh
hurt you.
man, I saw this video. It was a documentary years ago. I saw this. It was divers, and they were diving off of the coast of Greece somewhere, looking for this wrecked ship, this ancient wrecked ship, and they found it. And they dug up the contents of this ship, and they had these huge cisterns and stuff. And they opened them up. You know what was inside?
Honey.
Fermented fish. Fermented fish.
Oh, wow.
And it was purposely fermented, and it was an old dish that they still eat to this day. It was the same exact recipe. It was so interesting. They had all the salt and all of the stuff that the ingredients to make this fermented fish. So they were fermenting fish like thousands of years ago. Obviously, we all know that, but
Yeah. spoiling it the right way so it wouldn't hurt them, right? So it wouldn't just rot. Yeah.
Rotten food.
Well, it isn't rotten because
I know that was sarcasm. That was sarcasm.
Yeah, totally. But it's supposedly good bacteria. It's not bad bacteria getting
Oh
in
man,
there.
every time I eat something fermented, I think of your freaking sauerkraut. I'm like, I cross my fingers. I'm like,
yeah.
I didn't know you can get sick for a month. I'm thinking a few days I can handle a deathly illness, but a month, I don't know, man. That's scary.
And
No,
I'm
and
I'm a very healthy person. Like this shit almost put me 6 feet under. I'm not kidding. So
Right. That's
that's
scary.
great because what Carnival's doing, he's just showing, with the fermented foods and stuff, he's just showing things that we've been doing for centuries that are lost upon us. Because that's the thing, when you buy food at the grocery store and that's all you've ever known, you lose so much. You lose so much education. You lose so much of it. And cultures like the Japanese culture, they fermented foods is huge there. You know what I mean? And a lot of other cultures. And so this is something that we just buy in a jar and we're like, oh, somebody else did it. But when you do it yourself, people are just like, whoa, that's crazy, But
what's funny is they'll ferment it, put it in a jar, and they ferment it to make the sauerkraut or the pickles or whatever. Then they pasteurize it and put it in a jar and put it on the shelf. So there goes all of the benefits of what's the point of fermenting. So you have the sour taste, but you don't get any of the nutrition. It's again another non-nutritious food.
The point is to make it digestible, right? Because I believe, this is just my theory, the way we learn to ferment plant foods is by eating the insides of ruminant animals' guts. We found that half fermented or fermenting stuff in there, and we ate that as well. And there's evidence that that's what we did. So I think that's where fermented foods come from. Apart from the fact that we would hunt something or we would find an animal that was already dead and rotting away, and we also ate that.
Because you know what? You're right. I'm sure that we didn't pass up a half-eaten animal. When the men are out hunting and they see a half-eaten animal that's been there a few days, are they going to pass that up when they're hungry?
No. And this whole idea that like we couldn't have hunted this or that, it would have been too difficult. There's a video right now on YouTube of these African warriors who literally scare lions off the hunt. They just run up. Yeah, they run up on these lions. The lions run away for a second. They grab some meat and then they run away. How difficult would it have been with like 100 men to walk up on 3 lions and scare the shit out of them and take their food?
They stuck together and all in the confidence, like if they couldn't show any fear. And the lions ran away.
There's another video of them, another tribe in Africa, hunting an elephant. The elephant just sits there. It doesn't even run away. It's just like, shooting fish in a barrel, basically.
And who was it that proved that? Or there was something I read about how the American Indians, they were so fast and strong and barefoot that they
could run down animals.
They run down the animals and chase them, physically just running.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. Humans were
it's one of those things. Our brains allow us to do so many incredible things, and that's another thing. Vegans, they're not doers. Like I think the reason why they feel the way they do is because they themselves could not survive.
Cannot do it.
They couldn't
You're
do
right.
it. So if they can't do
Self-loathing.
it, nobody else can do it. And like anytime you see any kind of, you know, when you see these kinds of groups of people, it just goes to show our gene pool, man. They look at themselves and they're like, well, if I couldn't do it, there's no way. No, I'm sorry, brother. I'm a doer. I do things. I can do it. Because if you look at history, you're never going to see in history where we have these people that are 100%, that were 100% vegans. The reason why we don't see it is because we live in 2018. These vegans have access to the best technology at their fingertips, and they can't even, with a chronometer, they can't even get their diet right. You know what I mean? So they can go to a grocery store. Exactly. So the idea that they're going to live within their crop zone 100 years ago and be vegan is ridiculous.
Can I say something about Goji Man? Speaking of technology and chronometer, I just thought of something about Goji Man. He put a video out, and I don't ever watch his videos. I wait till Carneval watches them, and then I'll watch him break it down, because I can't stand like looking at him and stuff because of his honestly, because of his condescending like tone. So I did watch one because he popped back up. He's a new video. He's back, and it was so some dudes, some ex-vegans test results. Well, it made me think, you know, Goji Man has admitted health problems. Does he post? Okay, so he posted Tim Sheaf's entire test result. I think it was Tim Sheaf, his test results, like every detail, personal information he posted. I'm sure it was allowed. Does Goji Man post his own test results? Because he clearly has health problems, and he admits he has health problems. Why doesn't he post his own test results and break it down if it's going to work? He's trying to diagnose other people and tell them what to eat and stuff. Does he? I'm calling him out. I want to see his test results. Why are you sick? Let's see what your bacteria, which I think is all that is a joke, honestly. But let's break down your stomach acids and stuff. And then heal yourself.
I would like to see it, but going back to Tim Sheaf's test, what Goji Man admitted in that video inadvertently, maybe not realizing, is that Tim Sheaf, he's speculating, he doesn't know for sure, but he's speculating that Tim Sheaf is genetically ill-equipped to digest plants, because he admits to there being a mutation that prevents you from being able to break down oxalates. Now, name one single plant out there that isn't full of oxalates. You won't be able to do it. So if he can't metabolize and clear these oxalates out of his body without them doing damage to his body, well, then maybe he isn't supposed to be eating a lot of plants.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. I didn't catch that part.
There's a lot of information in his test that vegans will never catch on to because they're not thinking.
It sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to me, honestly, because it's too high. Like I don't even know half of these words. Like, why are you telling me this? No normal person is going to understand half of this shit. Like the acids and all that means nothing to me, you know. But he just sounds smart, so everybody.
No, he doesn't. I got nothing to say about the guy.
For the people that are not skeptical, he sounds like he's smart. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about, because he has used a lot of big words and he talks really fast and a lot. You know.
Well, where have we seen that before? I mean, come on.
All I'm saying, I have nothing good to say about the guy, and I'm not gonna. I don't want to go off on him too hard. He's a punk. That's all.
I want him to show his tests. What are your test results? Bam.
He's never going to do that. I mean, we know he's. I feel like his heart might be in the right place, and obviously.
He's one of the ignorant ones.
You know what I mean? And my biggest issue with him is not what he's doing. I think it's great. He can do whatever he wants. My biggest issue with him is his anecdotes, his ad hominems, and just his whole story. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's so easy to get on YouTube and be this warrior, and he's so big and so bad. And don't you dare talk about my history. But I'm going to use my history. I'm going to monetize it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go after Sean Baker, who I don't agree with on a lot of things, but you can't go after Sean Baker and say, I'm coming for you. You know what I mean? You better stop. I got to defend vegan gains. And the vegan gains, like killing children and stuff. It's like, come on, dude. Like you would not act this way if we were in person. I guarantee that. You know what I mean? It's just
Look, unlike Goji Man, Sean Baker on his website, Meat Heals, he has thousands of people and their testimonials how by following Sean Baker's advice, which I don't agree with, by the way, but just
Right.
by following his advice, dietary advice, they have cured all kinds of health issues. Thousands of people. Show me one person that Goji Man has helped. I'm not saying he won't be able to help anybody. I'm not saying that at all.
I'm saying he will be in the short
But
term. I think
as
that
much shit as he talks, it really doesn't.
he
It's
should
not backed
have
up by
more
anything.
testimonials. He should have
Exactly.
more testimonials.
Exactly.
So he said his next video is going to be how he breaks down, Tim Sheaf and helps him like heal. So let's see what happens there. But whatever, it's a bunch of bullshit. But that whole 100% carnivore thing is extreme, and so is the whole 100% plant thing is extreme. I think that you can heal on both short term, but I honestly don't.
Can I tell you what my honest opinion is on that
Yeah.
right quick? Really quick. I think that because I've talked to people that are vegan, that no longer were vegan, and this is what I've seen. And tell me if you agree, because for people that used to be vegan out there, they might be able to kind of understand where I'm coming from. I think people that are on a standard American diet where they're literally killing themselves, and I think we all know what that means when it comes to their health. They get on a vegan diet, or they get on a whole food plant-based diet, but let's just say vegan, because they're trying to get results. I feel like in the short term, a lot of them will get results, but then
absolutely.
long term, it's not sustainable. And then these people always, kind of like what Primal Health has said, because I've watched a lot of his videos, he's right. The best way to make a carnivore or a carnist is for them to be a vegan first, because they started off going, you got to think, why do these people go vegan for? Everybody that I've talked to that has gone vegan, everybody that I've listened to, they have a story. And they need to be heard. These people have things going on, whether it's their physical elements, their mental health. People go to veganism because out of extreme necessity. Like they've at their wits' end, and they see some short-term gain, but then they go long-term and they start killing themselves.
That's the
and they go to carnivore.
Carnivore.
And I feel like
have been carnivores for longer than 2 years.
You're not going to find that's the thing. The reason why carnists are so intense is because a lot of them were vegans before.
That's another
thing. I think short term you get some benefit from not being on all this processed food, from not intaking all this, all these hydrogenated oils and McDonald's and all this. I think that you do see good effects, but long term it's not good. It's almost like it's a fast, it's a quick, exactly. You're ridding your body of all the garbage you had in it. And then they're like, oh, this is great. And they tried doing it long-term and they realized, oh, I have some deficiencies, because they were eating so much food. They had an excess problem. Now, long-term, they have a deficiency problem, and then they find the carnivore diet and it kind of helps mellow them out. That's just what I've seen.
It's true. And you do feel good. You do feel good at first, because I don't know. I said my thing was, for the last 15 years or even 20 years, I've been an avid faster. I've fasted myself for every little thing. I've healed everything from chronic acne to colds to kidney infections just by fasting. And so I got addicted to fasting, and which created more deficiencies in my body, clearly. But fasting does heal on a short term, but that long term shit, you just become deficient.
Yeah, and people will ask me, well, what diet do you think is the best? And I'm not somebody to, here's the thing. I'm not here to tell anybody how to live their life. All I know is, if you come over and I'm cooking food, man, there's going to be good vegetables. There's going to be some meat that I just, harvested myself. I just like to eat, and I eat what makes me feel good, what I feel is healthy, and I feel fine, and that includes both plants and animal products. And I know it's not for everybody. So if you're on something and you feel great, and it's working for you, even if that's a vegan diet, that's fine. But just realize, long term, we see the same trend with vegans. You know what I mean? You got to look at these.
Listen to your body. I started losing my hair at 17, and at 19, it was noticeably hair loss. Okay, I didn't listen to my body. I'm still trying to heal myself with plants. Okay, a lot of vegans have these tiny little warning signs for years. Indigestion or insomnia, whatever it is. Listen to your body and
they don't want to address it. They don't want to address it because, the animals. That's why I think the biggest message is, I hate to break it to you, you're not saving the animals because you're going to the store and buying asparagus. You're not. So get that out of your head right now. Take care of your body first.
I have a similar but different opinion on all that.
Yeah.
I think it's my opinion only. I think that every human being on this planet, barring some kind of weird genetic mutation or allergy, can benefit from eating some animal products. Which isn't to say that people can't survive eating a vegan diet, but I think there's definitely a distinct benefit from eating animal products for everybody. Whatever the quantity of those animal products is, probably has to do with how your ancestors ate, what your body micro evolved into. What it? Whoa! There's some.
I'm sorry, dude. That was
background.
me. I just grabbed
That's
some
fine.
meat out of my freezer because we're talking about meat. You got me hungry, so I'm gonna thaw it out right now.
But what I'm saying is, to each his own. But just as I allow for the fact that there could be people who do okay on the vegan diet, because I do believe that meat is essential, if not just necessary, I think there are also people who could do better on a 100% carnivorous diet than anything else. And this is what I'm finding out for myself. Now, maybe I just haven't found what these plants are that don't affect me. But anytime I add a plant, I add some carbohydrates, there are every single
you
time
have
I
a
do-
reaction, don't you?
But no, I don't necessarily have an allergic reaction or anything. I don't feel as good. And mentally, I don't feel as good.
Right.
All of a sudden, I'm farting. Why should I be farting? Why is
Right.
that healthy for me? It's not healthy for me. It's the way my body learned to deal with something that shouldn't be in there in the first place. So just because my body adapted to being able to eat, some plants, that doesn't mean that that's optimal for me. And I'm not saying that this plant that's okay for me to eat doesn't exist. I still haven't found it. That's all I'm saying.
You know what I noticed with plants, as far as nutrition is concerned, what I personally noticed, that you can get magnesium. I can get magnesium and potassium from plants, but I can't get iron from plants. And I can't get, obviously, the essential fatty acids and the fat soluble vitamins from plants. That nobody can get that. But
what's in
personally
plants
cannot
that
get
we can't
iron.
get? But what is in plants that we can't get from meat or animal products in general?
Well, let me tell you, because if I don't eat fruit, I will get leg cramps. So that tells me right there, that tells me right there, potassium and magnesium. That if I eat fruit,
maybe you're not eating enough pork. Pork has a lot of potassium.
Really? So
Maybe,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe you're not eating enough connective tissue or making bone broths. I'm not saying you should. And if you could solve the problem with plants, go right ahead. I'm not.
And that's another thing. I can't eat all the things every day. I don't even eat a lot. So I can't eat all the things every day. But if I eat one piece of fruit, I don't get leg cramps, and I'll eat my meat and my milk and stuff all day. But if just one little piece of fruit will prevent me from getting leg cramps. So that tells me, what this tells me is I actually am absorbing the potassium and magnesium from that piece of fruit.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm not getting it from me. I know
what you're saying, but it doesn't mean that you couldn't get it from meat. It might be difficult. You might not know exactly. You might not know exactly what the meat is you should get, and if you could get it from plants, go right ahead. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is I don't know what this magical nutrient is that happens to be in plants, but not in some sort of animal product. Now, if you can't get fish, for example, where you live, by all means, and you don't want to be vegan or vegetarian or eat any plants, by all means, supplement with cod liver oil or whatever you need to do. Do what you got to do. I'm not saying that eating just steak is going to give you all the nutrients you need, because even Dr. Sean Baker himself is vitamin fucking D deficient. It's the last thing a carnivore should be.
He really?
And he lives in California? He's got 40. His score was 40, and 40 is like the minimum before you're deficient. And in my opinion, that's deficient.
I'm curious about that.
Because there's not a lot of vitamin D. No, because there isn't a lot of vitamin D in muscle meat.
Do you think?
Especially if you cook it. If he were to eat some liver once in a while, he wouldn't have that problem.
Does he say he's going to be eating liver too?
No. He just steaks. That's all he's about. If he were to eat some salmon once a week, he would probably triple his vitamin D, intake.
And what about he doesn't drink milk, for God's sakes?
No, he just eats steak and eggs once in a while. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but that's a little extreme then.
Let him do whatever the hell he wants to do. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just don't use him as an example of, what my nutritional profile is.
Yeah, the liver, man, just bumps you up 1,000%. The liver bumps people up in nutrition. Like I think you can cover everything with liver, raw liver especially.
And I think a lot of what Carnival's talking about too, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is my permaculture side coming out. I think that, for example, the plants I grow, and I'm really big into perennials, right? I do have, full disclosure, I do grow Golgi bushes, blueberry bushes. I have a cherry tree, apples, plums. And a lot of this stuff, which is when you talk about zinc and when you're talking about iron and when you're talking about a lot of these things, a lot of this stuff happens or is supposed to happen when you're talking about composting, right? Copper, iron, zinc, manganese. And so when you're talking about getting them from the store, there's no compost, there's no soil health, right? So when you're talking about composting, I have hundreds of gallons of compost that I compost regularly every day. And so my compost is high in all these micronutrients. My compost is high in magnesium, iron, zinc, all this stuff. So when I'm feeding that directly to my plants, that's going to come into me and my animals when they eat it, right? Yeah. So that's something also to keep in mind. So I think that there is, like this is just obviously coming from, my geeky side when it comes to permaculture, but your food is only as good as what's in it. If you're buying food from the grocery store that's been sprayed on with chemicals, the soil is just an anchor. It's a sponge, and they're spraying all these ammonias and they're spraying all these chemicals on it to produce a product. And they're talking about GMO and all this stuff. These plants are growing and they're big, but they have no nutrient content because they're genetically modified to be big, because it's all about the bottom line. It's all about cost.
Have you ever, lately before, because
so So I would highly encourage you, when you're looking at this stuff, look at it from a holistic standpoint. Look at it from what's in the ground, because my soil is black, it's nice, dark, and it has copper, has iron, it has zinc, it has magnesium, it has all thousands of micronutrients, from composting leaves to, rabbit manure to everything, trimmings, the whole 9 yards. It's all in there. So that's something to look at, especially when you're talking about these vitamin deficiencies. You got to look at holistically, man. When you're buying stuff from the grocery store, you're missing out on a lot. And I don't care. I mean, the facts just prove that. You know what I mean? And just because you buy organic and somebody threw some, treated cow manure and bone marrow on there doesn't make it any more nutritious. So that's something to look into. And that's the only thing I want to kind of say on that. So just keep that in mind as well.
Have you ever experienced, maybe not you, Carneval, but where are you, millennial? What state are you in?
I'm in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, okay. So just me then. So I before, a couple of years ago, I would buy a bag of organic oranges like every other day. Like we're such big fruit eaters around here, especially before we started eating meat. And it got to a point where, with funny anecdote, Florida is the largest bigger producer of oranges, yet Florida imports oranges from California. They don't sell their own oranges here unless you're on a small, like a scale, like your neighbor. So the grocery stores, the oranges are from California, which is weird. So I was buying these oranges, and then suddenly I noticed that the oranges literally tasted like water. Like I was getting pissed because I'm spending, buying these organic oranges, they're expensive, and I'll cut them open and it tastes like water. And I'm like, why do they have no taste?
If you go back to that article I linked, oranges today have 1/8 the nutrient content as they did your great grandfathers.
Oh my God.
Look it up. It's there.
Yeah. I want to see, do you have videos on composting and stuff? I'm sure you do.
I do. I have a video on my channel. It's like I said, everybody has their own means and method to it. I think composting is great. I'm a big supporter of compost tea, but the main reason for that is because I use so much compost that I don't have enough compost. I'm actually trying to gain another 90 gallons composting bin to keep going. So composting is huge, and I can't tell you the difference in the food. Like anybody that knows what I'm talking about, there's a difference. And like I said, I'm not trying to make everybody a gardener, because I want everybody to live and let live. But if you are looking for something to start with, I would say get some perennials, get some bushes, because they're going to provide you with food all the time. And all you got to do is take care of it. You know what I mean? They're going to come back every year and they're going to give you high quality food. Just take care of it. And it's not hard to do.
It made me think that the oranges were just non-nutritious. It was pretty much
they are non-nutritious.
The flavor, if there's no flavor, where's the nutrition?
There is no nutrition. They were sprayed. They were
Yeah, it's
sprayed.
disgusting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think Carnival's bring up some good points on the screen right now when it comes to fish. I have fish. I have aquaponics and I do channel catfish. But yeah, I mean, there's animal products are great. Obviously, I like plant products as well. But yeah, it's just there's so much out there that people need to really look at, and they really need to educate themselves. There's so much out there, and I think people do themselves a great disservice when you just depend on this infrastructure that's set up like, oh, these oranges in the grocery store are great, these berries at the grocery store are great, or even this meat at the grocery store is great. You know, like anybody that's on the carnivore diet knows, I mean, the organ meats are super important. I like bone broth as well. I just made some the other day.
I'm making some this weekend.
It's very important to, you know, look at everything, you know, in totality and, you know, really, I mean, excuse my language, really give a shit about what you're putting in your body. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing I could,
they're just buying this
encourage anybody.
Cheap and it's non-nutritious. They're just throwing their money down the drain. They're better off spending more money. Like sometimes, a lot of times, if you go to the farmer's market, the food is way cheaper than the grocery store. But it's to get the people to the farmer's market on a certain day at a certain time. This is the issue.
Right. And I think, here's the thing, and this just comes down to legwork. Where I'm at, actually, a farmer's market is a little bit more expensive. But like I said, it's you know, people are trying to make money. I think the biggest thing is we can do everything now. I mean, you can literally get, you know, fast food restaurants just drop stuff off at your house, right? The infrastructure is there. The social networking is there. It's just we're not as a community, as communities, we're not taking advantage of it. That's why I love the Crop Swap app.
That's
literally
cool.
in my little, I mean, just you know, I'd say just download it and just see who's around. Yeah,
people need convenience because they're super busy. We weren't meant to have full-time jobs and raise kids, and you know.
I'm just saying, you'd be surprised the person down the street that has all this food that they're willing to give away for free, or gardeners like there's so much out there, and it's becoming more and more restricted. Like,
so if we bring the farm food to a more convenient level, I think obviously people are going to buy it. Like we're delivering our milk. That's more convenient than going to the farmer's market on a Saturday. You know what I'm saying?
It's more convenient than keeping a cow.
It's more convenient than keeping a cow.
Right.
You know what I think would be the perfect neighborhood is this dude has the cow, this one has the goat, that one has the bees, that one has the plants. You know what I'm saying? I make the soap because I make soap.
And that exists. I guarantee you, if you look at within a 5 to 10 mile radius of where you live, you have people that are like that. They just don't know who you're not talking to each other.
I put exactly, because you know what? Yeah, you're right. I put a little tutorial up of how to find farm fresh food, small farmer food in your neighborhood. You literally can go on Craigslist and type in eggs, and you got 6 neighbors that are selling their backyard eggs.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? People don't know this, like, you know.
Absolutely. No, and that's the thing. And that's what I encourage anybody to do. It's going to sound really stupid, but it's very basic. It's very easy. It comes down to community. You know what I mean? And obviously I was blessed to grow up in the way that I am. I mean, it's going to sound weird, but everyone has a tax guy or a lawyer guy. I have a fish guy. I have a milk guy. I have,
Me
you know, this
too.
guy.
Me
You know what I
too.
mean? And so, like, you know, and it's just all about knowing what people have, and things come in seasons and stuff like that. And it's really just about creating your lifestyle to live the mission statement ethos you want to live. You know what I mean?
You start caring about your neighbors more. And I like the whole idea of supporting your small town, like putting your money back into your town, into the people, not the big stores, but back into the people to empower the people. And then when you trade your cherries with the guy down the road's eggs, you start caring about each other. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And you get to know their families, and then, you know, like it takes the village to raise the children type of idea. Like we don't have that at all anymore.
Yeah, and unfortunately, once you start to do this, then you'll start to see all the problems. Like, Siren, you live in Florida, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's illegal for me, like let's say, not that you do, but let's say you wanted, you know, a blueberry bush trimming, or you wanted something to transplant in you know, we'll just call it heirloom, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you that, you know, especially my blueberries and raspberry, they go back 5 generations. Like these are the same, these come from the same stock that my great grandfather had.
That's so
I take great pride in that. If I wanted to send that to you, you know, that's illegal.
Why? Oh my God.
Because you're talking about you're talking about sending agriculture across state lines as a private person. Seed banks in a lot of states are illegal. So when you start to actually look at this, you're starting to realize how restricted that you are. I mean, in California, you can't take anything from any other state. They have checkpoints that are set up, you know, so it's like they have legit government checkpoints set up.
Oh yeah, it's illegal to I don't know if they've changed it since, but when I was in the Army, I was stationed in DC, and we lived in Virginia. Okay, so this is the first time I started drinking raw milk. And
raw milk, super illegal in a lot of places.
Oh, dude, the Amish would come from Pennsylvania. It was a secret. It was a whole underground, like, black market raw milk. There was a cooler at some random person's backyard. You didn't know this person. The person never came out to talk to you, and it was all exchanged. Like, nobody really knew each other's last names. You just signed up, and you got in. You know, it was all word of mouth. And I got so lucky to find this. And then you just go put your money in the cooler and you grab your items. And it was what it turned out that the Amish was bringing this milk from Pennsylvania. So it was a federal offense for them to bring their milk over the state lines. And they would do it in the middle of the night. They would do it in secret. I mean, these Amish people, they could lose their entire farms.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Golgi, man, like I had when he first started, I had an interaction with him, and I actually have Golgi bushes, you know, I have them. Yeah. And so I told him, are you ever going to talk about the outrage of the fact that even if I wanted to send this to you, it's legal. Even if you wanted to get this from, it's illegal. And I'm explaining to him his European laws. Yeah, I'm explaining to him his European laws. And then he's like, no, I'm not talking. He disengaged, not talking to you anymore. You're making too much sense. You know what I mean? So when you start looking at
me at all.
Yeah. So when you start to look at this in totality, what we're talking about is great, but you're going to realize real quick how restricted you are and how, you know, people do have heavy vested interest.
If you look at his comment section, he hearts every single person's comment except for mine. Like,
you know, and it's just And
like, hey man, did you not see this?
You know, he sees it. He's just, you know, he's smart. It's about his bottom line. He gets it. But it's just one of those things where, you know, you don't see vegans talking about that. You don't see, you know what I mean? Because they care about consumerism. You know what I mean? They care because once you start caring about your body and what you put in it, you're not going to be a vegan. I mean, and that's just the truth. Like I said, show me these off-grid vegans that are, you know, growing their food free of plant residues and chemicals and all. You're not going to find them. They're very far few in between. And the ones you do find, you know, like John Kohler is a perfect example. He's a vegan. He doesn't talk shit about people that, you know, are omnivores or carnivores.
He's content with himself. He doesn't have that inner anger turmoil.
Because he's a doer.
He's a doer because he gets out there and gets dirty.
Yeah, vegan athletes the same way. I mean, I've watched some of his stuff. He actually makes fun of vegans that buy food at the grocery store.
That's fun.
So he's been shunned from the vegan community because he's one of those people that says, if you're a vegan and you're just a vegan because you go to Chipotle and get a vegan burrito, don't talk to me. I'm like, that's perfect. But this guy's out there teaching people how to garden, teach people how to do all this stuff, and it's like, you know, I can respect doers. You know what I mean? He may have
I like that you bring up these vegans that are not like that because I'm very jaded and I need to see the other, like the good vegans, you know.
Well, I mean,
veganism is like the laziest form of quote unquote activism.
It really is.
I struggle to even call it
online,
activism, you know.
Totally is.
It's not. It's just
you just avoid poultry and the meat and the dairy section in your grocery store. That's all that is.
That's your activism, right?
Like
that's your activism.
Well, Siren, I just want you to. I want you to think about, like, look how we started this whole thing. Like, I want you to look at what's going on right now. Literally, if you look at me, I should be, you know, to the vegan community. Technically, I should be like one of their biggest, like, wow, this guy's doing it right. Anybody that's in
but they don't ask you how to make fertilizer. They don't talk to you about that. Like,
and look at who we're talking. I'm literally talking to two people that I believe are on a very meat-based
high meat diet, and I'm asking you how to make fertilizer.
I'm here on the other side, and like I said, you're not going to see, you know, disrespect. You're not going, and like, literally, I'm probably closest to the opposite of what most of the viewers are. But I can come.
Wait,
here.
stop, wait.
Yeah. You know, and we can have these conversations, and I am plant-based, you know, but I also dispatch my own food. You know, and like again, it's one of those things. We should not be getting along if you look at the vegan circles, but here we are getting along just fine, and we're able to make sense.
You don't have insecurity. You're content with your life. You're content with yourself. You don't have inner anger that you're projecting onto other people, and I'm starting to. Totally thank you. I've gotten I've been enlightened by this conversation. That's what veganism is about. Insecurity, weakness, and anger.
No.
And if you're not any of those things, you can be okay with other people eating meat and have
Absolutely.
conversations.
And we should not be, like I said, the fact that we're having, you're not going to see this conversation anywhere on YouTube. Like the stuff we're talking about right now, you're never going to see anywhere else on anybody else's channel. I haven't yet, you know, and I've tried to reach out to these vegans. I've asked, went to Ask Yourself channel. I've tried to debate these people and nothing. They won't even engage. And it's just like, how are we going to have a real conversation? But when Carneval tries to go on there, they want to talk about aliens and circle squares, and
What the fuck?
you know, it's just like, what? Yeah, exactly. It's like
so far off the path.
yeah,
like the
and
point
then
is gone.
yeah, and Carnival's right. They are scared, you know, and then they'll make videos about him and say, oh, you know, he's just surrounded by kids. This is what they think. They're like, he's surrounded by people that think exactly like him. And I'm a perfect example. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but he's more than willing to have me on the channel. We're more than willing to talk about things.
Exactly. Do you see he can talk to you, but then you can respond back and have a long conversation. But ask yourself, like, what was that? That was what a nightmare.
It's because he really these vegans really think that Carnival is he just surrounds himself with Neanderthals that eat meat, and you know, that's what he thinks, and it's not true. Carnists are not just these, you know, big, bulky Neanderthals that have no minds. They're very talented, very smart people. Like I said, Daphne Reloaded is a great example. You're a great example. And then he has people like me who our diets are pretty almost opposite. You know what I mean? But here we are talking, and here we are talking about things that really matter.
I'd like to give
agree on a lot of things.
This announcement to all the vegans listening out there: you are hand feeding yourselves into being completely controlled, and like to promote veganism is to pretty much your future generations. Like, I picture us being behind a wall and being thrown slop. Like, that's what I'm afraid of. You know what I'm saying? But when you take away your power, when you hand over your power to the government to control your food and take away the sustainability and have zero knowledge of how to grow a bean or an egg, then you are going to have no choice but to be behind that wall and to eat the food that they're handing to you, which is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and these vegans don't know how to, like I said, they don't know anything about food. They all they know is I'm a keyboard warrior, you know, I'm behind a computer screen and I'm looking at all these anecdotal cherry-picked studies, but they really don't know anything about growing food. They don't know the first thing about food. You know, they don't know the first thing about, you know, what it takes.
That's going to be my number one question from now on to any vegan, whoever, like this nutrition dude. Oh my God. Have you even seen him? He drives me insane. He's always on my channel, like, tell me the stupidest shit. And then my next question to him is going to be like, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? I want to talk about your garden. No,
does
no
he
garden?
Have a garden?
No garden.
Exactly.
No, he does not. No,
it's exactly it. It's like, you know,
everything he eats comes from a package. I mean, come on.
It's like a mechanic talking about a car that they've never seen before. You know what I mean? Like, I know everything about this car. Oh, well, what's under the hood? I don't know. How is it? Right. I don't know.
You only knew the book, like, right. So Daphne sent me this video. Oh my God, we were having such a good laugh through email over him one time. His video, she's like, look what he's fucking eating for breakfast, water and supplements. And it was just like, and then he goes for a 10-mile run. Like, dude, you're going to be a skeleton by summer.
Good for him. Let him do it. You know, like I said, vegans are doing great at destroying themselves. They really are. I mean, the vegan movement has made more carnists than anybody else I've ever seen. And it's great. You know what? Because when I have these conversations, like sometimes, like I know Carneval is not the biggest fan of conscientious and omnivore. Me and him, we agree on a lot, kind of like me and Carneval, but we disagree on a lot too. And it's crazy because I'm able, you know, whenever I have discussions with them, I always have one or two people that will message me and be like, you know what you said made sense, and I'm gardening now. You know, that's huge. And these people are actually taking a look at what I'm saying, and they're taking a look at the facts, and they're like, you know what, you got a point, you know what I mean? And so if I can make one gardener from this discussion, or if I can make one person decide to go out and, you know, raise their own animals, like, I think I did my job, you know? It's one life at a time, because at the end of the day, that person has a family, you know, now he's empowered. So like I said, I don't agree with everything that Conscious and Omnivore says, obviously, but kind of like me and Carnival, we do believe that, you know, growing food is important. And I have no problem calling people out, like just what you said. There was these hardcore militant vegans that wouldn't know what, wouldn't know how to grow food if it hit them in the face. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't know anything about pH or compost. They have no idea what I'm talking about.
Nothing. They just want to buy their food in the store, but that puts you at such a weakness. Don't you see? The vegans, this puts you at such a weakness. Do you care about the future? Do you care about one day this could all be wiped out in like we've lived through hurricanes down here. We have literally had 0 trucks coming into Florida for months.
Well, I think
no food on the shelves.
Global disasters are bad, but like, Carnival, you were telling me about food prices, right? Like grain prices and just overall produce prices being extremely high down there last time we talked. Like just the prices on food are so ridiculous. I can't imagine spending, some people are spending, $6, $7 a pound for chicken and stuff. It's crazy. Like Costco has to start their own co-op because Costco is saying that it's too expensive to buy from big box stores for their chicken. Like that was just announced. Like Costco is literally creating a whole co-op in Nebraska. Yeah, because I mean, you gotta think these big animal agriculture are also subsidized. So government's giving the money to produce a product that we have to pay more for.
Yeah,
agriculture is getting all this money.
The tax, I don't even want to worry about that right now. I can't even. That pissed me.
So I think natural disasters are always going to happen. They were happening from the very beginning. But at the end of the day, man, it's like these food prices are going up. So my question to anybody, vegan, non-vegan, it doesn't matter. If you're a person that eats food prices are going up on everything. What are you doing about it?
Well, what's kind of pissing me off is like, okay, so you're making yourself weak and your family weak by not knowing how to do anything. You just want to go buy your food and get supplements and stuff like that. So what happens when there is a natural disaster? And here we are, we have our food, we're protecting our family, we're thinking ahead. Are we going to be, you going to be the ones that we're going to have to fend off? You know what I'm saying? Like, take care of yourself. Like,
no, I'm not worried about vegans. I mean, they can't make it down the street.
They can't fight me. That's what
I'm not saying. No, I'm just saying. I'm not. Like I said, I think Carnival made a good point too in another video, and I think Sfinge or whatever the raw meat guy that likes to go
Sevilla. Did I say it right this time? Sevilla?
I don't know. Yeah, that guy. I just like the outrage. That's why I watch him. But
say it again, Carneval.
Spedia.
Okay, good.
Spedia. Yeah, he makes a good point when veganism is just it comes from being entitled. Like it comes from living in a country where you are entitled enough to be able to practice it. You know what I mean? That's all it is. Push comes to shove, these people are going to be eating meat so fast like they were before in the past. They might cry about it a couple days. They'll get over it. It's like a breakup. They'll get over themselves and they'll eat animal products.
Right.
That's what it is. It's a religious cult to them. It's what it is. I mean,
she was crying. She's like, this is my first bite of meat in whatever 10 years. And I know I need to eat it and this and that. And she, like her video, she was literally crying. She was shaking. The fork was shaking. Like it was such a trauma to her, but she did it, and she's.
Yeah. And here's the thing. She put her, oh my gosh. I think it's just, I don't know. Everybody has a different threshold. Maybe, my life experiences have made me more rash, but you see these new generation of kids, like there's this video out there on a millennial using a can opener for the first time in college and everybody's clapping after she opens the can. That's like, that's the society that we've created. Like I said, veganism just comes from this deep rooted to be virtuous because they have no love. They have no self-accomplishment outside of being vegan. You know what I mean? And so vegan has become who they are as a person.
It's a popular subject.
That's all it is.
Be part of
they want to be part of the cool. They want to feel like people need something to hold on to. Like look at Carbstrong, right? He's this hardcore gang member, right? And then he found animals. Now this is his shift, man. When it really came down to it, he came from probably from what he said, a broken family. He needed to be a part of something that made him feel important. That was the gang. And then he found animal activism. He's a man, right? And no matter what he is, what you think he is, he's a man and he's predispositioned to be a certain way. And so now he found animal activism and animal rights, and that's who he is. He's taken that on because he needs to be a part of something bigger than himself. Now. Yeah,
I agree. I agree with you. Like on the individualistic level, that's what it is for him. But I think as far as populations go, the fact that so many white people, I don't mean to make this about race, but it kind of is.
You are right. No, go there because
white people have been told forever, you have no culture. What do you mean they have no culture? They're vegans. You know what I mean? So they're like they're grabbing onto this because they want a sense of identity, and I think it appeals to white people with white people problems. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's such
first world problems.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it gives them an identity. I'm not saying this is conscious, and I'm not saying this is what it is for everybody. But finally, they have something they
I
can
think
claim,
you're right. Wow, I never thought of that before.
I don't know. I know a lot of people that I don't think it's white. I think it's just a society. I know a lot of people that aren't white that are vegan.
As a white girl, I can say, come on. It's what is it? 99% white.
Mostly white people, yeah.
Well, if you want to, yeah, if based upon your training experience, if you want to make that claim, that you can say. I just,
I'm the white girl,
I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people that aren't white that are also vegan. But I mean,
really?
you might have a point there. I think it's just when you live in a first world country and you have the ability to go to a store and have
creating their new culture.
Yeah, you can grab whatever you want. It's a culture created by the grocery store. That's what it is. It's a grocery store religious event that happens in what they do, which is a little weird. But yeah, you're not going to see this in other, like Venezuela, for example. It's a great example. I mean, they're eating rats and dogs and zoo animals and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Was it Venezuela or Argentina that has the bad meat? I think it's Venezuela.
Well, Venezuela doesn't have a whole lot of anything right now.
Right, exactly. They don't have the electricity. They lost all their. They don't have refrigeration.
When you're, that's socialism for.
Well, this is part. Okay, so this is part of a disaster happening. So this could happen anywhere. I know this can happen anywhere in any country. So they don't have electricity. They still have their animals that they're selling at the market, but these animals are covered in flies and they are fermented. This meat is fermented. There's no refrigeration. These people are still buying and eating the meats.
I'm surprised they have a currency. I mean, I imagine it's mostly bartering right now. I can't imagine they have a currency infrastructure at the moment. I could be wrong.
The interesting thing about Venezuela is that the government was starting these urban farming programs, but because they were making so much money off the oil, nobody cared to engage in that. But they were actually, as if to anticipate any oncoming crisis, they tried to establish like a really good urban farming program, but nobody wanted to do it.
And now didn't take them up on it.
Well, here's the problem. They didn't take Mike the Vegan's advice, right? Because Mike the Vegan was asked if he was on a deserted island with nothing but a pig, what would he do? Would he eat the pig? He would say, no, I would just eat what the pig's eating. Well, tell Venezuelans that. Why don't they just eat what the animals eating?
Why don't they graze?
You know what? Let's get Mike over there. Mike, you need to go to save the people of Venezuela because they're starving to death and they need to hear what you have to say. You see how ridiculous that statement is?
That's so stupid.
You see how ridiculous it is? Like, are they listening to themselves?
Well, these are the type of people that have never been sick. Like, once you get sick, look at me now. I'm drinking blood. Once you get sick, you will be surprised.
Well, that's because you've been watching too many Twilight movies, but I get what you're saying.
Oh no, I got the
I'm giving you a hard time.
I got the concept of vampirism. I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I literally felt the life coming back into me instantly. And then I started to crave it after that.
Anytime I watch Goji Man videos, I feel like I'm watching an episode of The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt.
No joke. I saw him glowing. Like, he looked like he had glitter all over him the other day. Is that because he was in the sun?
Honestly, do you who made the good point about his eyes being weak is why does he wear the sunglasses? Do you think it's to cover his sunburn, or is it because his eyes are weak from
I honestly think it's because he thinks he's cool. He's trying to like his music and everything. That's what I thought, but I don't know. You guys probably had some insight.
I thought he was trying to make an image for himself. That's what I thought originally, but then then the sunburn issue and then the eye weakness issue came out, and I'm thinking maybe he really can't see in the sun. Maybe he can't be out in a regular daylight. You know what I'm saying? Maybe his eyes are weak.
Okay, so maybe he just went to the doctor and got his eyes dilated.
Maybe, yeah.
Every day he gets his eyes dilated, bro.
Somebody even in his comment section made a good point that said, how can I take you seriously? We can't even see you. Because then he sits in his dark room or he's outside with sunglasses.
Police. I mean, Vegetable Police has a hood on. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know if that's just because
he's wearing a hood now. I haven't seen.
Not vegetable police, foot soldier. I'm sorry.
Oh
Why
no,
does he
that
wear-
dude. No, I can't watch. No,
I don't know.
either.
I
wait
reached
for
out to him
Carneval
because that's just like this guy is supposed to be so smart, and he had the conversation about organic, and he just got totally owned. And I'm like, the reason why you got owned is because you don't know anything, and that guy doesn't know anything. He's just trying to sound smart. Like watching that video was horrible. It was it just like if you want to know how stupid vegans are, go like seriously. I'm advertising Foot Soldier right now. Go to his organic.
I couldn't watch it. I listened to it for 2 seconds.
It was the most ridiculous, and I even sent him a message and everything. I'm like, "You're being ridiculous right now. Do you realize how dumb you sound?" Like honestly, like these people know nothing about the food that they eat. They know they're vegans and they know nothing about it. It's crazy.
The worst of the worst, like to talk to. Like it's like asking to be annoyed for an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like just to
absolutely.
Talk to
and it's and it's has to do with, and like I said, a bunch of people attacked me for it, and you know, I spent hours of my day. I don't know why. I was just feeling it, just debunking every single thing, and then you get 50 or 60 comments down, and they're just like, yeah, fuck you. It's like, okay, you got anything else to say? Like, I mean, I thought we were going somewhere, bro.
You kind of do what I do. I kind of do it because I feel like it's a little bit sadistic. I get pleasure out of like, you know, like,
well, you're a vampire, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like not hurting them, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh wow, there we go. Get the whips out. No, I get what you're. I understand. It's just
like a little bit. I can admit I feel a little sadistic, like pleasure when I just like destroy a vegan man. I'm sorry.
Oh wow, I want to own you.
And then they leave. Then they ghost you. They're like, oh, okay, fuck you. You're an asshole.
I'm ghosting you. Yeah, so is everybody else in my life. No, I'm joking. But yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, it's hard to watch, and they think they're so smart, and it's like, that's what happens. You know, when you're a keyboard warrior and like they think they know everything about food, but they've never actually went out, put the seed in the earth and taken care of it and cultivated it into something. Like they just have no firsthand knowledge on any of it. You know what I mean? It's like you can read everything about football, right? You can know everything about football, but as soon as you get hit the first time, oh boy, it's real. You know what I mean?
I would have way, way more respect for vegans if I seen them gardening.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And they don't. Like, I'm part of a lot of gardening groups. I know it sounds so weird, right? So crazy. I love it though. I love gardening.
I do too. I
love what I do. And
what about crocheting?
What's that?
Okay. What about crocheting?
Crochet.
Oh yeah, I just.
Are you a crochet group?
Right?
You joined the crochet club.
Yeah. Carry on. No, it's great, and it's just in these groups and these people that I interact with. Not one vegan, a couple vegetarians, which is, you know, cool with me. They still eat animal products and stuff, and it's like, it's one of those things where it makes no sense to me. It's like, you know, we can abort children, we can enslave children, but if you have your own, you know, if you have your own garden and you eat eggs and drink milk, you're the problem. It's like,
just like that.
Hold on again. Wait,
oh,
what?
Go ahead.
No. That's just me, you know, having conversations. Like, wait, hold on. So you're a vegan. You buy all your stuff from the grocery store. This person's a vegetarian. They garden and they get their eggs from a, you know, local co-op or local backyard chicken raiser, and they drink milk. And these people are the bad guys. But you're all for abortion. You're all for child enslavement. You're all for wrecking the environment. How does that make sense?
I don't understand the whole egg situation. Why are they against eggs? They would rather eliminate the chickens from the planet than.
I have no idea. Carnival, you talk to these people more than we do. Tell us. See, I don't talk to vegans as much as Carnival does. Carnival, you have to know, bro.
I think they're mad about eggs. I think I know what it is.
I really don't think it has anything to do with the animals. It's just.
I think I know what it is.
They don't want you to be healthy because, like you were saying, they're suffering on some level, and they need a friend in their misery, basically. I mean, because even when it comes to, let me just say this much, when it comes to bivalves, which are, you know, seafood, these sea creatures that don't have a central nervous system,
they won't admit that you can eat them.
They don't even want you to eat those, even though it's known that these things don't suffer. You just eat this, but it's extremely nutritious. You know what I mean? They'll choose a bivalve over a 3-4 month old fetus inside of a, you know, future mother. Why? It's not about sentience. It's not about suffering. It's about you not getting the nutrition because they're not. whether they're aware of that or not, I can't say, but that's what it's about.
I think it's subconscious. So just like the bivalves and the eggs, there's literally no harm that they could even possibly think of that will come to chickens by them dropping eggs all over your yard and you feeding them and they're being out in the sun and they're playing and they live in their family groups. There's no harm to them at all. Okay, so what can they say about it? Nothing. But they say
it seems like every time I see it, it's like, well, somebody may abuse chickens, so therefore no one should have chickens.
No, but
I bring it to you. My chicken guy, his chickens, they have solar on their freaking chicken coop. Okay.
Wow.
In the wintertime, these guys have a solar panel. They have 2 of them. They have solar. These chickens live better than most vegans because they're completely off grid. They have solar, and the solar has this little. Yeah, the solar has this little. So there's solar connected to a small battery inverter. Anybody that's familiar with renewable energy will know what I'm talking about. And there's a timer, and every day at like 6 o'clock, it pulls the fence thing up so the chickens can go out, and at night it puts it back down.
That's cool.
It has automatic water. Yeah, and a heater, like that's what it does. It's solar to keep them, keep the system working. Man. Yeah, absolutely. And these little mother truckers are not having any problems at all.
But I think the reason why they group eggs, which they have no possible argument that they're being abused, I think that they group the eggs and the bivalves in with all other meats, is because they don't want to admit that eggs could be nutritious for you. They don't want to, because if they admit that eggs are if they admit that you're allowed to eat eggs as a vegan, then there's some nutrients in eggs that are also in meat. And you know what I'm saying? It just goes, it's like a rabbit hole. Like they don't want to, they just group it all together. They don't want to admit that the chickens are not being abused.
I'll do one better for you. Let's say eggs are bad, which they're not, but let's say they are bad. How are they worse than buying a GMO plant product from the store that has no vitamin content and has plant residue from pesticides, which are known to be a level 1 carcinogen?
If they don't see it,
come at me, bro.
They're so like, if they don't see the pesticides being literally sprayed on their food, if they don't see it being trucked with using the gas mileage and the oil all across the world on a ship, if they don't see it, it doesn't exist. It's just a green thing in the store and I'm going to buy it and it's clean looking and this and that. That's all they care about. This is what I mean about the layers. They don't lift up one single layer to see where anything comes from. It's all about surface. It's all about
I see somebody in the comments.
Aesthetics.
Yeah, I see somebody in the comments said something about let's see, because they kill male chicks are killed. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know how male chicks are killed with eggs because they're not fertilized.
Right.
I don't get that.
You eat the male chickens. Okay, so you can't.
No. That's not what they're talking. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the little chickies when they're born and they sex them. They keep the females obviously to get more eggs, and they grind up all the males immediately, which is well, I mean, I don't really care.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing.
Oh, so they're doing the same thing that harvesters do. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
They're doing the same thing that people who abort fetuses. I mean, it's not even comparable. What am I talking about?
Yeah. No. But okay, so my egg farmer down the road does not do that. But she does grow up her male chickens and slaughter them and sell them at the market. But her female chickens, they lay their eggs, they're out in the sun, they're eating all the weeds and the bugs, and they got a good life. And there are no sexing or murdering of baby chicks for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
That same vegan that is complaining about this but buys dog food for Fido doesn't seem to make the connection that those little chickies, that's where they go. They go right into dog food. So,
look at Vegan Gates. He has a whole freezer, or he at least used to have a whole freezer for his wolf dog, freezer full of meat, but then he wants to go fucking virtue signal.
Okay, this is another thing. Vegan Gaines' wolf dog, he couldn't handle it. So what does he do? He gets rid of his dogs. Do you know that my dogs are like the worst dogs on the planet? I have 2 bad-ass dogs. They have caused me so many problems, but I will never, you know what I'm saying? I will never just get rid of my animal. You know what I'm saying? Like that's another thing that is comparable with vegans taking care of animals and stuff. Okay, I have all these abandoned and abused animals that I've collected because it's hard for me to turn down, you know, a neglected animal. So I have these little critters all over the place. Okay, I have a vegan friend who, she's not really a friend, she's a coworker. She bought a rabbit because she thought it was cute. And I asked her about the rabbit a couple weeks later. Oh, I had to give it away. They can't, like, okay. So animals don't really mean that much to you.
It goes
like
back
if
to
they're if they're a little bit hard to take care of, you know what I'm saying?
It goes back to the original premise. They're not doers, you know?
They're not doers. You got to clean up shit. When you have a rabbit, you got to clean their cage. There's things like that.
Exactly. He has no problem acting tough on YouTube, and then he goes up to real bodybuilders, completely respectful. He has no problem acting tough on YouTube, and then he'll go and he'll be, you know, totally change his tune when confronted. You know what I mean? They're not doers. They're not people that do things. You know,
like,
he has anger.
I gotta clean.
He's admitted to anger issues. He's admitted to wanting to kill children. He's admitted to all this stuff. I can't take him seriously. They're not doers. That's why he can't handle the pets he has. That's why he has his issues.
He has the anger.
Yeah. This big bad bodybuilder that lifts all this weight and does all this stuff, he does not have the capacity to be a producer, to do things. He doesn't have the patience. He doesn't have the willpower. He just doesn't got what it takes. And that's sad. And that's something we see continuously in this vegan movement.
All right.
So yeah, it's really sad and it's really unfortunate. And like I said, I wish that everybody would, you know, like I said, just if you're going to be a vegan, that's great. That's wonderful. Do your thing. Just live up to your values, you know. And most vegans are not. You know what I mean? They have, like I said, they have no problem, you know, saying how bad it is that, you know, a vegetarian eats eggs and drinks milk or whatever, but, you know, they believe, you know, in abortion, and they believe in, you know, it's okay to poison animals for me to get my plant products. It just makes no sense. The logic is not there. It is not on their side. And when confronted with that information, they, you know, put their tail between their legs and they run away. At least I haven't seen a good argument yet, and I've been asking for it, and I've been reading.
I honestly haven't.
But a lot of vegans watch Carnival, so I guarantee you somebody's going to have a response to this real soon, and I'm looking forward to it. So
good. I would love to.
I'm ready.
And by the way, if there are any vegans out there who, you know, are not completely fucking crazy and they want to come on and talk about some of these things live, I mean, they're more than welcome to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think we're very.
So I'm not.
Yeah, we're very. I think we're very. Just because of show, people think that at Carnival. I know you know this. People think that you just are somebody who just, you know, when he's upset, just gets upset and yells and stuff. But they obviously don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, here we are. Like I said, you know,
he's not yelling at us.
Yeah, two carnists, one plant-based, one whole food plant-based guy that actually grows his own food, and we're being 100% respectful. And we're having actual dialogue that's never happened on YouTube before.
Raised his voice once.
Right.
No, I mean, you know, like when I talked to Conscientious Omnivore, it was all copacetic. I mean, we disagreed on just about everything, but like, you know, it didn't evolve into anything nasty like with Vegan Gains. And that was only one time, because truth be told, and I'm not making excuses, I'm giving you a reason, I was eating a lot of carbs, so I was very, you know, irritable. When I when I was talking to Ask Yourself, who was far worse than Vegan Gains, I was on my raw meat, and I was just having a blast. Man.
It's just funny at that point. It's just funny. You know what? That brings up a good point. I know a vegan in real life that I've had, like, I swear it was like a 6-hour email conversation with her about my raw dairy farm, and all I said was, I kept saying to her, just call the farmer, call her, and talk to her. Because there were questions that I could not answer. And so she called the farmer. She actually called the farmer and had a half an hour long conversation with her. And she emailed me back and said, I'm actually impressed. Like, I can knock that off of my list of things that, you know, are like bad for the earth and all that stuff. Like, she was actually impressed after talking to a small raw dairy farmer. And she had no more problems with me or the milk anymore, because she didn't know about it. They don't know about these small farms that are just so beautiful and peaceful, because they're just looking at the big, like the social media. They just look at these horrible videos. I've never watched that one video that everybody turns vegan for, or what it's called, Earth something.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's
Earthlings?
basically, yeah, it's
I never
basically
watched that.
ridiculous. Yeah.
No, I can't watch that. But because that's all they've seen, they don't know that there's small farms out there that is just the complete opposite extreme of what that is.
You
That
know
you
what?
can actually feel good about your food, eating
all
animals.
Earthlings is exactly what Carnival always says. Earthlings is correct me if I'm wrong, Carnival. Earthlings is an hour and a half of slaughterhouse porn.
No, I can't watch that.
If you want to be better, buy food from big agriculture. You'll be fine. That's the message.
Wow.
That's it. No, it's
See, all of
slaughterhouse
all of this stuff you're showing right here, Carneval, zero of this is going on my small local farms.
Not
Zero.
going on in my house. Yeah, exactly.
None of my pigs, my pig farmer, they have the life, man. They are spoiled. They are out in the sun. They run the whole farm. They have acres and acres of land to run free about.
Yeah, it's the same here with our animals and most animals in Ecuador. There's a little bit of chicken industry, and some pigs aren't very they're kept in small corrals. Some pigs, not all of them. But this is an exaggeration of. I'm not saying this doesn't happen on a grand scale, but it really is an exaggeration. It isn't all like that, and most of the world isn't like this. Now, yes, this is the dark side of meat consumption.
This is the dark side, and I wouldn't eat this meat.
But the thing is that you wouldn't have your beautiful laptop computer. You wouldn't have the car that you love so much. You wouldn't have TV. You wouldn't have any of that if this didn't exist. And this is something that we're all responsible for. So long as you live in civilization and you benefit from civilization, you're part of this problem. Just because you choose a different food at the grocery store, that does not absolve you from benefiting from this the same way everybody else is. It's bullshit.
Face the fact. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore that.
That was that should be a great opening to a documentary on homesteading right there. Carnival, that was great.
Thanks.
That was really good, dude.
No, I mean, look,
it's true. It's true.
The point I'm trying to make is the guy that made your computer is a meat eater, right? The guy that delivers your mail, he eats this. Your parents ate meat. It's like, boo-hoo. So you change one little thing about your life. It's like you still shit 7 times a day.
Yeah, and location 515 just said we need to fix livestock system, not just stop eating animals. Yeah, and I think that starts with every single one of us. And I think, obviously I know Carnival, he does his part. I know I don't shop at grocery stores anymore. I don't do any kind of all the meat that I get is from the home or from a local home. Like that's something that deep down inside that I decided to do a while back. So it starts with us, and it's possible. It may take a little footwork at first, but you will not be more happy. I mean, I'm just, it's just the truth. You know what I mean? And so
I don't feel guilty eating my animals at all. You know what made me feel? No. You know what made me feel guilty the other day? I literally felt guilty when I bought 2 fucking avocados from the grocery store that didn't grow in Florida. So that's where I'm at. I'm an extreme to the other level. I'm like, oh shoot, this is from Mexico. And I felt like I was going against. I felt like a hypocrite. That's what I felt like.
Absolutely, no. Here's the thing. You're absolutely right. I can't agree with you more. That's where exactly.
It was critical of me, and then guess what? They went bad. I never even got to eat them. I felt really bad after that.
Well, that's because it took 3 weeks to get to you.
I know it wasn't ripe. Tree ripened. It wasn't. It was hard as a rock, and then I forgot about it, and it was bad.
No, it's true. And it's just if more people realize that's what it is. Like I said,
family farms, not factory farms. That I like that little meme right there that you had up. See, that's what I'm talking about. I love that costume. That's funny.
Yeah, and like I said, the body is what you put in it. Even with animals, I truly believe that. If you're buying the food, if you're buying meat from a grocery store, it's not going to have the same quality as if you're buying meat from a local farm. I mean, if we really believe what you put in your body is what you are, then that's the truth. And I will say the same thing to carnists that I say to vegans: know what you're putting in your body.
And look, I'm not trying to make light of what's happening in these factory farms, but the reason why I don't care for the most part is because this delusion. People think that we are going to first learn how to take care of animals before we learn how to take care of other people, before we learn not to kill each other in these like useless wars. You know, we first have to learn how to respect one another before we could extend that courtesy to animals. So this delusion that we could skip that important process in our evolution, you know, and it just doesn't appeal to me at all. I understand it's bad. I wish it wasn't so. But for that to be your priority and not the fact that we're doing far worse things sometimes to other human beings just tells me that you're twisted, man. You you have it all upside down, in my opinion.
Right. Anti-human, as
Exactly.
says. Anti-human.
Exactly.
No, it's the truth, and you know, and that's what happens. You know, when you face vegans with those arguments, that's why they got to notice why they have to talk about aliens, because they know that they treat humans horribly. So they have to notice how they don't use humans. They have to say, well, what happens if you were to kill a sentient person from Star Wars? You know, because nobody cares. They don't care about humans that much to the point where they have to talk about Star Wars characters.
That's
you know what I mean? Because everybody loves Star Wars characters. So let's talk about Star Wars. You know what I mean? The fact that people care more about Star Wars characters than they do humans.
Twisted.
Well, that's what Ask Yourself did. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's exactly what he did. The vegans don't care about human life so much. They have to say, put human consciousness in a Star Wars alien so that you can actually care about it. That's exactly what he did.
They don't give a damn about people. If they really cared about human beings, they would listen to this, what they like to, you know, call anecdotal evidence of all these people who have healed themselves eating more meat or eating nothing but meat. Like, I'm not saying that's the right choice for everybody, but there are people out there who have significantly improved their health by eating meat. And if they truly cared about animals, they would care about people first and foremost, and they would take that into consideration and maybe soften their message.
If I tell them that my daughter, my 23-year-old daughter, is not freezing anymore in the summer, is growing her hair back, and actually has muscles now, as before she was skinny. And if I tell them that this is all because she added liver to her diet, and then they're going to criticize me for that, that's anti-human. My daughter is healing, and you are trying to criticize me. You know what I'm saying?
They have no leg to stand on.
They don't care, man. They don't care about us. Like Andrew Scarborough, he's in the comment section right now. I know he's been able to manage, I don't know his entire story, I don't mean to misrepresent him, but he's been able to manage brain cancer, if not cure it completely, by eliminating plants from his diet. And he's been doing this for many years, you know what I mean? So it's great. Like, from what I understand, he was essentially on his deathbed or heading that way. And, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, and he's not the only one. I don't mean to be picking on him, but you know, there are other people like that. Maybe not as severe a condition, but definitely have improved their health by cutting out the plants. It is what it is. You know what I mean? How do you deny that?
I agree. And like I said, when it comes down to it, I think we'd all agree. I don't think any of us really cares if you're a vegan or not. It's the implication that it's going to be forced without repercussion or without recourse. Like, you have to be vegan or else we're going to do X, Y, and Z to make it so, right? Government legislation, this, that, the other. Like, that's the thing about this militant veganism, that if you just were to get on and be like, hey, this is how it should be, that's fine. But the fact that you have to be this way, and we're going to make sure that you are this way, that's the big warning sign to me. You know what I mean?
It's a one-way traffic. That's all it is.
Honestly, that's what scares me, and that's why I get so angry about it, because the plant-based diet nearly wiped out my entire family of women. We're all type O negative blood, which I find is very unusual, because it's such a rare blood type, and we all are low iron and anemic. And at such a young age, my mom was practically a walking skeleton. My mom, 10 years on a vegan diet, I lost sleep. I couldn't even sleep thinking about my mom.
Are you sure you're not part of the special genetic bloodline from Blade?
I think I'll be okay when the aliens come, because I am of their daughter. You know what I'm saying?
Guys,
yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like, I really gotta go. I got stuff to do. So
yeah, we gotta go.
Yeah, no, I would do this forever, but I got shit to do. That's all
you gotta go.
So yeah, totally. I want to say thank you for showing up, man. It was a great discussion. Do this some other time.
Absolutely.
awesome talking with you guys. I very much enjoy it.
Yep, I'm looking forward to all the response videos and the hailstorm this is going to start on YouTube. So get ready, guys. The
Can't
vegan
wait.
coming.
I'm ready.
I'm sure.
I got the weekend
Thanks for
off.
everybody. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. Thanks for coming through. And go check out Sveria and Frank Tufano. I hear they're streaming live right now too. So
Cool.
take it easy, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Millennial.
Bye.